Kyrian. Yeah, Galdrian.
Kyrian. That's how the Galatries pronounces it.
No, it's Kyrian.
No, it's Kyrian. K-E-Y-E. Kyrian.
E-Y-E. The word I. Like I. E-Y-E.
No. Does it? Again, maybe I'm wrong. I could be right. I can be wrong.
It's Kyrian in the audiobooks, but that's not always a great. Because they say Tarvalin.
I would, like just the way it's spelled. I would agree with you. Just C-A-I, Kyrian. Yeah, I could see it.
So I looked it up. It is one of those goofy ones that it is Kyrian. Ironically, this is also the word where kaiju comes from. Yeah, but it comes from the same Middle English etymology.
I take the L. Jesus.
100 lives, more, so many he could not count them. And at the end of every life, as he lay dying, as he drew his final breath, a voice whispered in his ear, "I have won again, Nerdporial." Flicker, 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 flicker.
I'm Amanda Manethrin, and I approve this message.
Last time on Revisiting the Wheel of Time.
Well, mate, I was when I was in high school. I think year 8, year 9. Yeah. Anyway, I stole a book out of the library. There was we had this old bitch in the library, and she was a complete bat, and we hated her guts. Anyway, I was just literally playing a prank, mate. I was trying to see if I could get a book out of the library without this old bat noticing. And anyway, and it turned out it was to be The Eye of the World, and I read it, and I loved it. And that was how that started. I loved it so much that I actually took the book back and put it back in the library after I stole it. And I didn't get busted at all.
The head warder's like, yeah, you're going to fucking do it. You are fucking... I love that. I love that. Good. That was awesome. He's like, if you two dipshits don't put up, I will put the wager down.
There's a point where now look, I know there's the big who's worse, Egwene, Elaine debate out there. They're both bad in their own ways.
It's not really a debate.
Egwene goes off the fucking deep end, and it happens. She just, I don't want to ruin it, but she just basically ignores her whole crew.
So here's I think the thing with Egwene, and this is what's present now, is that Egwene is. I think Egwene is legitimately a psychopath.
Okay.
In the clinical definition, right? Where that
may be true, but what has she done to this point to give you that?
And that's my point, is that at this point she's a psychopath with no power, like a nice sort of meek little village girl, and then later she breaks out of that that requirement, and then later she gets power, and then all bets are off, and she's
Well, and to kind of defend that point, her actions at Falme and right outside of Tar Valon.
So she's not an evil person, but she is a psychopath.
And now the continuation.
Well, welcome to part 3 of the Dragon Reborn discussion. I don't have a nice quote to begin this one, so I'm just going to say, hey, everybody, what's up? I want to say hello to the chat, of course. We got Dempsey here. We got Jacob Ironstein. We have Kyla there. And, of course, thanks Nathan, Gadfly, and Pips for, keeping the conversation alive there, too. So let's, without further ado, I want to bring in our special guest, the one and only Mr. Gadflyfiction. How are you doing, sir? Thanks. Welcome to the Nerdporial stream for the first time. Your first ever introduction.
Yeah, it's great to be on here. I've watched your stuff for a while now, ever since the White Cloaks have started me down the pipeline of deplorables, I guess that we'd be called.
I don't know what that means. I interpret what you're saying as real people with real opinions and that have disagreements that could talk and act like adults. If that's what you mean,
discourse.
I'm not gonna. I don't want you to quote a former first lady. So, but once again, the views of the individual do not necessarily reflect the views of the panel or the chat or the Nerdporial. So, Gadfly, what did you think of that little thing I wrote about you on the opening? Is that pretty accurate, or did I screw it up?
Yeah, for sure. Just the idea of understanding humans and humanity through the means of storytelling is something that's been around for forever, right? It goes back farther than Jung, who was the one who kind of popularized it in recent times. But even back in the whole concept of fables and Aesop's fables and stuff, like all of that was just about exploring humanity and the deeper messages and meanings and imports of human existence. So yeah, I think it's pretty accurate.
It's gone. No, I mean, it's gotten me very. It's gotten me. I mean, it's that stuff that's gone. It's that stuff, especially from watching. I'm going to be honest. I know Tolkien hated this, but allegory, the allegory in Star Trek. I'm going to bring up Star Trek. Because that's probably one of the biggest things I'm a fan of. Has gotten me more interested in the human condition and just trying to understand issues from multiple sides. So, and it's gotten me more interested in the classics. If you would have talked to me as a kid or a teenager, or heck, even in college, I've been bored. I would have been bored talking about, some of the more pseudo-intellectual, works. But now as an adult, I'm more interested in, plus, time is of the essence, especially because, like the Aiel say, death comes for us all, not to be, morose, but it's true.
We all must wake from the dream.
So I have to ask you, Gadfly, because I asked this to everybody who is first time on this channel, or especially with Wheel of Time. How did you find out about Wheel of Time, and how'd you find out about the series? How'd you get into it? Go.
Obviously it always goes back to Tolkien, getting introduced to Tolkien as a kid. But then, in junior high, I guess it was, right, 7 and 8, I was so horribly bored by school that I skipped classes to go to the library to read. And that's where I picked up, I started reading the Dragonlance series and all those D&D books and stuff. But then I just, moved on through the fantasy section, got stuck at Terry Pratchett for a while because that's another fantastic series. But then moved on to this cover that looked pretty freaking awesome, of a group of people making their way out of a village in the dead of night. I picked that one up and read it, and then I went and bought the book because I liked it so much, and just kept on reading the series from that point on, to the point that I actually have 2 copies of every single book. I've got a hardcover copy and a softcover copy because I just love the series that much. So yeah, skipping school, being a rebel, going to the library and reading books. That's how I started down this path.
Yeah, that's a way to stick it to the man. Going to the library, learning shit. It's what's funny is it's true. And what's funny is nowadays it's true. It's funny because it's true, especially when they feed you all this stuff that may or may not be accurate, to mildly put it. So
yeah,
but
well, that's one of the things as a TA in university classes that I find so aggravating and frustrating is just the students who come in. Usually, I'm part of teaching first year courses, and the students who come in just are absent of intellectual capacity, and trying to create that in them by introducing them to different modes of thinking. It's challenging, but it's rewarding when it works.
Yeah. Well, wish you all the luck with that. That's a very, very noble endeavor. So Gadfly, thanks for joining the stream. So let's bring in the rest of the panelists. So without further ado, this man needs no introduction. It's still light out, and he's doesn't have a pipe in, but he still has an epic beard. Nathan, what's going on?
Yeah, if I had a pipe, you would also see me with like a bludgeoned head or something, because the missus would have been like, the hell you are.
So are you excited to talk about this part of the book, chapters 33 to 44, starting with Perrin and ending with Matt?
Yeah, I am absolutely in. This book is always a good read through. I find the Egwene stuff a little bit tedious at times, but I don't know if that's just because of the show having some unfortunate influence on me at this time. But it's still a solid book, and the characters are still well fleshed out in the book. They don't not so much in the in the show, but it's
what show?
It just
there's a show.
Well, technically there is, but it's not.
Yeah, really. And I hope you guys all make bank on videos and everything, like Cloaks and the rewatches, Prophet and his rage, and Nathan, I hope you make videos too. Salty, I hope all you guys make videos. I will abstain from all that because I don't have the drive to do that. I don't have the A, I don't have the history, and B, that show sucks. I don't want to even watch it again. So.
Well,
I might be tied into it though, so we'll see. But
your run of the so-called luck with television shows of late has not been very good.
Well, last couple of shows I've been watching have been pretty well. One show I really enjoyed, Primal, and then I'm watching Ted Lasso. But Ted Lasso, like we talked about earlier.
I was speaking in terms of live watches.
There was no live watches. I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch any show. So, all right, but Nathan, thanks for being here, and our final guest, or our final panelist for tonight, another individual, doesn't need no introduction. Helped to create a little voiceover for the intro. Thanks for doing that. And it's not quite dark out here, but he is wearing sunglasses. Hit it, Pips.
Hey, we've talked about this before. When you walk in the light, you need those shades on. Got to protect the eyes. Thanks for having me on again, and glad the coming in after these two gentlemen, like it's a hard act to follow. We got Gadfly, who I think is, in my book, the in competition for three best Canadians, and I mean probably the best hair out of the three. So he might actually be able to grab it on that. I mean. Like he looks like he would have been a really great extra at Helm's Deep.
Yeah, I definitely can see that.
Helen Orfield.
Yeah, also true. Yep. And then, obviously we got Nate with the best beard in the biz. I mean, hard to follow as well. So it's just, it's always a tough ride in the rump here. But hey, happy to be on. It's good always talking about this book.
Isn't that how horses get it done?
No comment.
So
those are our words, and
that's how it is.
So you're not allowed to say
Nelly.
We've reclaimed that.
So Pips, any initial thoughts on this portion of the book? If you even remember.
Yeah. So this portion, actually, I guess you have to tell me which chapter did you actually end this section on again?
So this chapter ends. So this starts with Perrin. They're still riding. So that there's a big long gap between Perrin chapters. Yep. So they're riding to they're riding through they're riding to this one town, and they pass through a whole bunch of towns.
Yep.
And it ends with, I thought it ended with Perrin, but it actually ends with Matt. So the final chapter 44 splits with Perrin and Matt. Perrin, they take on some bad dogs, and Matt takes on some bad people. So yeah, lots of I'll have to say, from reading, there's a lot of ambushes and a lot of especially in the last few chapters, the Perrin chapters, like Moraine has become kind of like her plans are being revealed. Everybody's knowing she's Aes Sedai, and she's getting pissed off, and it gets to the point where Lan is forcing himself not to laugh, because between Perrin and that girl Fael, they keep blabbing about everything because they're bitching and they're bitching and talking and just Perrin just hates her guts.
You had this chapter, or this section of chapters, I will say, has one of my favorite jokes in the book, which it's not one of my favorite reoccurring jokes, because it only kind of comes up the one time. But her saying that her name is Mandarb and Perrin starts laughing.
Yeah.
So good. It's a fantastic joke. I love it every time I read it.
He's like, that's Mandarb. He points to the big black stallion.
In my mind, if someone were to try and faithfully adapt this scene, so we won't ever actually see this, but if someone were to try and faithfully adapt this scene, he would point and be like, the horse is actually Mandarb, and it would pan over, and Mandarb would be like, it would look over its shoulder, and its tail would come up, and it would just drop a big old shit. That would, and then it would, then Mandarb would snort, give a good little snort, and then yeah, exactly.
So today I actually took thorough notes, like 4 pages of notes to guide me through this, so I don't have to open the stupid wiki like I always do. And
so you took notes on the first chapter, and then you kind of gave up after that.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I read it. I tried to remember as much as I could, and then for the rest of the chapters, I had to look at the wiki to take notes. But I made sure not to click any links or move the mouse over a link, because all the prophecies. One who laughs at goats, or one who wears white, and this. I made sure not to do any of that, because they would reveal the name of who they're talking about, and I didn't want to do that. So there you go.
All right.
So instead of doing it chapter by chapter, these chapters are kind of bunched up into like little mini arcs. So like a TV show. So I just kind of separated them by character arcs, like by point of views and everything. So
I think that'll be a fun way to do it.
So Perrin, so that's how I took the notes. So I call this first part Perrin Part 1, because there's 2 parts to this. So based on what I wrote, so they're basically the Perrin. They've been writing for a while, ever since chapter 9. So I don't know how much time has passed. I like to assume it's been a while. And the first thing that is pretty clear and does pay off during this read, it was the perfect timing for this. So Perrin spots a dog print on a stone. but he doesn't spot it anywhere else. So he doesn't say anything. I don't think he says anything, hence why he just thinks it's strange, but he doesn't think much of it. So they are still following Rand, and they are going to this city called Remen, and they're right by the river, the Manetheren River. And well, let's just say Perrin is still having his dreams, and he's still trying to avoid having these dreams. He wants to get the fuck away from the wolves. He wants to get as far away from these little bastards as much as he can. He wants them out of his head. Can I blame him? No. But apparently they pass by all these towns on their way to. So he looks back. So they're approaching the town Remen, and then he looks back, and then we find out like a whole bunch of things happened to these towns that Rand passed through. So they were following on his trail. Apparently, one town got burned, and that they say it got burned because a lantern got dropped or something. I couldn't help but think of the Chicago fire, because I think the story behind that is a cow knocked over a lantern and caused the fire in 1871.
Yep.
So that was one thing that happened. Rand's horse was found dead. One city I think got its spring rejuvenated. One town, all the wells went dry, and another town, everybody got aggressive, and 3 murders happened because of that. So. And then there was another town where they had a poor harvest, but I think Rand left behind like gold coins, or somebody left behind gold coins that were found.
Yeah, dug up a bag of gold coins.
Yeah,
of old Manetheren gold coins.
Yeah, so to keep them from starving. And then the part that I really I thought was interesting was Perrin was just kind of questioning his worldview after witnessing these things. He's like, is Rand evil? Is the pattern evil for doing this? I always thought the pattern was like something that could be forged for good or for evil. If I remember correctly, I forgot exactly how he put it. But Moraine says, no, there's only the creator is good, the dark one is bad, and the pattern is neither. So I thought that was an interesting. I thought that was a little interesting little conversation that they had. So it makes
the theological debate of why does evil exist in the world, right? And you have a couple traditional answers to that, but the sort of most convincing one is that evil either, or the 2 most convincing ones are. Evil can only exist as a parasitic element to good. So there can't be evil unless there's good. But the other one is that evil exists so that good can shine, right? Because if there is no evil, then it's just.
Then you're like those weirdos in that Star Trek episode where they all get infected by the spores and it's all paradise, baby, and no, they have no want. There's nothing to grow off of, nothing to aspire to, nothing to overcome.
The very interesting thing here that I think Jordan puts in there is that existence itself is not evil, right? And you get a lot of nihilistic viewpoints, where just life is struggle, therefore life is bad, and there's no merit to it, and so Jordan is presenting this idea that no, life is not inherently evil. Life is kind of what you can make of it and how you engage with it.
So I think that there's certainly an element of some of those ideas. I think that's the good and evil kind of struggle is, I think, something more, it's dealt with more by other authors, right? I think that it's a huge part of kind of Tolkien's writing, for example, that we've been talking about on our channel. But I think that the pattern I don't know. I think the sort of, theology of the wheel and the pattern is less about good and evil and more about balance, and about um, the idea that, you know, things are not necessarily good or evil unless they are out of balance. So, for you to be able to do something good, you are sort of pushing the balance. If you are doing something evil, you're pushing the balance in the opposite direction, right? And the pattern attempts to sort of keep the wheel running, right? And if you know anything, this is one of the reasons that I like the metaphor of the wheel. My sort of, conception of this is almost like the wheel is sort of the the cog in the machine, right? It's driven by the engine of creation, which is the one power. And you have this sort of, bipolar kind of nature of the one power. And that, if you think of how an electric generator or something like that works, you have a positive and a negative, and it rotates, and the balance between those charges is what creates alternating current, and what turns into actual mechanical motion, right, as it goes through the other side from a generator into an engine, or a motor rather. So you have the wheel that's rotating, right, and that makes the pattern something sort of akin to like a tread on like a tank or something like that, right? And if you ever look at a system where there's a free moving tread on a wheel, there's a natural tendency for actually the turning wheel to center the tread on it. If you push the tread off to one side, the rotation of the wheel will actually bring it back into the middle of the wheel. And so my idea of the pattern and the wheel is this sort of, metaphysical sort of, universal construct that is all about maintaining balance. And my notion of really what the Dark One represents is the destruction of that balance. So the way that he would break the wheel is he would create sufficient enough imbalance that it sort of tears itself apart, as any sort of mechanical thing is wont to do if it becomes unbalanced for too long, right? So
and the results would be completely irreversible. Like you couldn't, no correction, no nothing.
At a certain point, right? Yeah. So that's just kind of the way that I've sort of conceptualized. It's kind of like a fan belt or something like that, if you want to use sort of a more directly mechanical idea. But maybe that's just I have experience working a shoot. I mean, I guess there's probably a better name for this. I used to call it a belt loom. It makes a strip of fabric about like this. It's a small portable loom. You can use it to make belts or guitar straps or anything that is no more than a few inches wide, and as long as you'd want to make it, right? And so I've always considered the pattern as basically that, right? Like it is this ever extending sort of fabric that goes on, but it's kept within constraints.
So I've always more thought of it as sort of a wheel for drawing out wool, right? So you have a bunch of wool, and the wheel is pulling it and spinning it, and that's what enables you to pull it into a strand, right? Mm-hmm. And so in this particular case, the souls of the individuals would be the strands of wool, and so the pattern, the pattern is less of a grand design pattern type thing that we would consider on like a tapestry or something, and more so a mathematical pattern construct, like Fibonacci sequences, or the golden ratio or stuff like that, that is working to keep all those threads taut and together, right? So to me, it's less of an idea of the the wheel not being, and the pattern not being, it's essentially just the pattern. The wheel is creating a continuous creation, right? And that's what the creator has set up, and so that is the underlying existence of everything around it. And the dark one is an entity that wants to destroy that. And so when you see the things like, because you're correct with the idea of balance, the pattern always moves these things around. Because if you look at all the different things that happen to those villages that Rand visits, that Perrin comes after and hears about, they're all parallel, right? There's a good one and a bad one, a good one and a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
And those are, it's not necessarily the wheel creating this sort of cosmic balance sense, so much as it is creating a function of continuing creation. And it's
I think that the wheel or the pattern, or however you want to, there is clearly some sort of awareness in the process, right? Because you have the function of ta'veren, and you have the heroes bound to the wheel, right? And they are with some sort of intentionality dropped into the pattern in order to course correct, right? And they are not just through their own free will, but they are essentially forced into a sort of role, right?
Yeah.
So I've always thought that it's a little more intentional. That's why, I kind of think of the loom or something like that as being, one, we get the analogy of weaving, right? And I think that the loom, well, I mean, that's an old historical sort of kind of conception of fate and the way the world works as well, right? You had that going back to, I mean, you probably know this honestly better than I do, but the ancient Greeks with the
spinning of fates.
Yeah, exactly, the fates, right? So I don't know. We're probably getting really far afield for Nerdporial's stream here, but I definitely think that the point of this.
You lost me at loom. You said loom, and I'm like, I don't know anything about weaving or looms.
Right, well, the important thing is that we throw my plug in for my steading theory, which is steadings are the heddles on the loom of the sort of, and if anyone doesn't know what those are, you can look it up.
All right, thanks. All right, let's keep this moving. We're still early. So they get to so we get to Remen, and we see another prophecy come forward, an Aielman in a cage. And apparently this is supposed to be a turning point in Perrin's life. So once again, we go to another inn.
Are you sure it's not an Aiel smart in a cage?
Aiel what? I don't know. What you mean?
Sorry, I'll leave. I'll put myself in the penalty box. 2 minutes in the box.
All right. Hunters for okay. So apparently we learn here that hunters are here for the Horn of Valyr. And a couple of, I think a bunch of them they're the ones that captured the Aielmen. So we have two characters. We have Lord Gan and we have Orban and 10 retainers. And they fought 20 Aielmen and took only one prisoner, slaying the rest slaying most of them, and the remainder of them fled. And so the White Cloaks are here too. And they're out there looking for those that fled. So, I mean, maybe I don't know if it was the show that is responsible for this, but I knew it was bullshit the moment I read that. I don't know if it was, watching that episode, was it episode 6 of Wheel of Prime that kind of ruined it for me? Was it episode 7?
Yeah, cold open of episode 7 was
no. So But hey, I knew it was bull. I was able to know it was bullshit right away. So
It's the majestic pregnant unicorn sort of scene.
yeah. Oh, yep. That's right. That's right.
It's
That's
written
right.
in such a way that as you're reading it, you're questioning it already, because it sounds it sounds like it's guys puffing themselves up, and it sounds like gullible villagers believing them.
It's the typical bar talk bravado of adventurers coming in from that adventure.
So apparently, Perrin notices a woman is staring at him. He's like, "Oh shit, what's going on here? Is she a dark friend? What the hell is she?" So if you were in that situation, you'd be like, "Oh, you go and talk to the girl." But in this case, with dark friends everywhere and people trying to kill you wherever you go, you can never be too careful, right? So he's thinking about that, and of course, we find out that someone in Gildan proclaimed the dragon, and Moraine is like, "Fucking Missima, seriously." Like, I like how Moraine loses her cool several points during this portion of the book. So, here we find out. So he goes and talks to Moraine about the events with the hunters, and we find out Lan is already out there investigating, and also tells and also goes to see if Rand either continued on foot or took a ship to Ilion. So that's what they're trying to figure out, in order to make their next move. So, but he asks Moraine about the girl, and she's like, "Perrin, she's probably attracted to you. Get over it," or something like that. So she's probably not a dark friend.
Jordan also puts a large amount of attention into describing the girl as Perrin looks at her.
Yeah, she got long black hair. She got I forgot, she had a nose larger than life. Or I forgot how he puts it.
It's a not too big nose, so it's on the larger side, but it's not big enough that makes you go. And I imagine it's sort of the what do you call it? The not Pompeii.
Roman. You got a Roman nose.
The if you look at the coins of Egypt under why do I keep saying Pompeii?
Ptolemy.
Ptolemy, of course. They all have that big aquiline nose. All of the rulers of Egypt, of the Ptolemaic rulers of Egypt, have coins with that big nose on there. Not saying that they all had that big nose, but they all used that big nose to identify themselves on their coins as Ptolemies. But just when you look at sculptures of Roman emperors,
it's called a distinguished nose.
They all have this weird little crab claw hair thing on all the sculptures of the Roman emperors, and that's because that was on a sculpture of Julius Caesar, and so all of them have their sculptures put that little crab claw hair thing on all of their statues to connect themselves back to Julius Caesar.
And so you say that nose is a feature of a lot of the Ptolemaic Egyptian rulers, but I think we have a recent documentary that kind of proves otherwise about a certain Cleopatra.
Oh yeah, that she must have been.
I don't think we should comment on the implications of nose shape.
Right.
But yeah, so I imagine Fael has that aquiline nose, which is appropriate for somebody who's named themselves after a bird of prey.
Mm-hmm. Also, she's got slanted, sort of slightly slanted and green eyes, right? Yeah. I think she's mostly described as striking rather than beautiful, if I recall the sort of general, throughout the series descriptions of Fail.
Well, there is a drink and find out, because there are moments where she's described otherwise than striking, but yeah, that's a drink and find
out. Okay, let's keep this going. So apparently, right after this talk, Perrin's just like, he goes outside and he's just like, oh fuck it, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna release this Ioman. Why? I didn't like the fact that those kids threw stones at
he felt guilty. He didn't stop the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something that you notice with Perrin a lot, is he feels he should have done something.
Yeah.
And then so he does something else to compensate for not doing that.
So he lowers him, and we find he frees the Aielman. We find out the Aielman's name is Gaul. I guess he's named after part of an old kingdom that used to be that's now known as Spain. I think that area.
France.
I remember correctly.
Yeah. So he's a distant relative of Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah.
Or ancestor.
Or good point. Or ancestor.
Oh,
I have no idea what you meant by that.
Own grandpa.
I have no idea what that means. Pips, just saying.
It's a good. He's an
ancestor of what? Obelisk and what?
Asterix and Obelix.
Asterix and Obelix. I don't get it. I don't know what you mean.
It's a comic book. Series.
Oh,
it's a very good comic book series from a
long time ago. I feel like that one was like what, like the 60s maybe.
Yeah. Same time as Tintin.
Yeah, the same time as Tintin. That's a good way of putting it. Here now.
What were some of the other names? Egg and Lettuce.
Oh, I mean, most of them, were great, like Vital Statistics.
Yeah,
like they had some really great, very punny names.
Cacophonics.
Yep,
and
Cacophonics. Yeah.
Never heard of this.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great series.
Okay.
It's one of the most accurate depictions of the Gallo-Roman War in recent times.
Okay.
Oh nice. My gosh! There's a 2023 French live action comedy.
Yep.
4.9 out of 10 stars.
There are a number of them.
Oh my!
With Gerard Depardieu.
Oh man!
There we go.
4.9 stars. This is gonna be. I might have to watch this. Yep,
it's gotta be better than most of the stuff today.
I had a bunch of those comics in German and English when I was a kid.
So he so going back, so Perrin lets him go, and we find out why he's in this part of the why he's west of the waste and all that. He's looking for he who comes with the dawn,
or she.
Okay, excuse me, or she. Yeah, making me think Game of Thrones. Actually, whatever. But
whomever might come with the dawn.
Yeah, whoever. So what's funny is Perrin figures out, he's talking about Rand, and I think he tells him like, yeah, we're going to Tyr. And then, of course, I think another quote is, when the stone of Tyr falls, the Aiel will leave the threefold land. So I can only imagine what that means. I can only imagine that means something that's going to happen in the next book. I'll just say. So
it's going to be real weird when an adaptation of this book has the Aiel leaving the threefold land prior to the stone falling, because the stone doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, that's because they're the same book, though.
Oh man,
Niner.
Yeah, and then of course the girl witnesses. So now the White Cloaks engaged. Perrin and Gaul, and they managed to. I don't think did they kill them? I forget if they killed them or they just knocked them out. Whatever. They get rendered useless, and so we find out that he reveals that there were only 2 Aielmen that the hunters fought, and so the reason why they were in fucked up shape was because of just simply 2 Aielmen. That just tells you how good. It just tells you how good they are at fighting and everything. So, and the girl sees this. So Gaul runs away. Gaul leaves. I think he's going to try and go to Tyr as well. I forget, based on their conversation, and he departs. And then Perrin notices the girl watches, and he tries to go up to her, but she runs off. And then Lan comes up to him. He's like, "Dude, we gotta fucking leave now. The fuck did you do? Now we gotta fucking leave. So now we gotta get the fuck." Now this isn't the first of quite a few times that they have to get the fuck out of Dodge because of shit happening. So Perrin has to go get everybody, get the horses ready, and then fucking they go and they go to another ship. There's quite a few ships in this part of the book. They go to a ship and they just they get on. They basically get on the ship, and the ship is called the Snow Goose. And the girl follows them on board anyways. And then the girl starts talking to Perrin, and Perrin's like, "Get the fuck away from me. I want to throw your ass overboard. Like, you are annoying as shit."
And this is where we get the joke, right?
Yeah.
So she tells Perrin a bunch of things. She's like, she's a hunter of the horn as well.
Yep.
And we find out that she's pretty good with she's pretty nimble with knives, like Tom. Maybe not, probably nowhere near as good as Tom. I don't know.
Nobody's as good as Tom.
Yeah, I didn't think so. We find out
it's like Tom.
we find out that the people there do not think that just simply think that the Aielman just chewed his way out of the cage and just fled that way.
Did the Aiel? No, sorry, Aldan's going to yell at me in the chat. I'll stop making comments.
So Aldan says no, they killed the White Cloaks. So, okay.
Yeah. Here's a comment of where his talking about her nose. He could not decide if her nose fit her face or dominated it. And then he goes on a little inner monologue. "You're a fool, Perrin Ibarra. Why do you care what she looks like?"
I always feel like when Perrin is thinking about Fail, I always feel like it's a little bit of a personal attack. It triggers me a little bit. What is that?
Yeah, well, now like you know how she attack? Feels.
So the reason why she took interest in them in the first place is because she just sees them, she's just watching them, and she's like, something is off. Like, there's something off about you guys. Like, she somehow realizes that I think Moraine is Aes Sedai, and I forget exactly what it was, but like she just sees something. She sees something off about them, or maybe it's Perrin's eyes. I forget exactly what it is.
She recognizes Moraine as an Aes Sedai, which she then makes the assumption that Lan must be the warder. And then she says that, well, an Ogier is an Ogier, and so you're the only one I couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
So Perrin was the puzzle to her.
So
she recognizes an Aes Sedai as well, when so often throughout the series people don't, should be something that sticks out.
So she probably read enough fantasy books to realize, this is a weird party. They're going to lead me to something awesome, and that they're going to be these guys in her mind, are going to lead her to the Horn of Valir. And of course, Perrin tries to lie and throw her off by saying, "Oh, it's somewhere in this forgotten city, built on the mountains of mist and everything." I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be Manetheren or something, or some other city, some other forgotten city. But I don't think she bought it. I don't think, or at least I don't think she bought it, because he's a terrible liar in the first place.
Yeah.
And
the description was probably supposed to be Manetheren or something like that, right? But obviously Manetheren is gone, so
yeah.
Well, Eldraine pretty much leveled that.
Yeah, she did. With her recognizing Moiraine as an Aes Sedai, the only statement she says is she managed to get a much better look inside her hood than Orban did, and her face makes that stone fellow face to order. So you're dealing with a very astute individual at this point, for as young as she seems to be.
Not just astute, right? You got to think that who are the type of people who can recognize an Aes Sedai?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Read and find out.
Perrin doesn't figure that out either.
No, because he's despite being like the wise one of the three, he tends to be pretty dense about certain things, and he also
fill his dump stack.
That is, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. High in wisdom, low in intelligence. Yep. He also acts very emotionally in a lot of his reactions. I think Gadfly, you were saying that he feels like he should have done something, so he does something else to try and right the thing that he didn't do, and you'll get to see how that it's a bold strategy, Cotton. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, well, I can't wait to find out why that she's astute then. So he's like, "Okay, what's your name?" Okay, we already talked about it. She said, "My name is Mandarb." Okay, that's not your name.
I almost wish, like, I generally don't support the like, oh, I wish Robert Jordan had written something different or something like that. I think it's his story. We can say, this doesn't really work very much for me, but going so far as to say I wish that he had written it different, I think takes it a step beyond just like, it's not my favorite, right? But I wish that Perrin had not actually told her the horse's name was Mandarb, and had just I wish that we had gotten at least like the end of the book of just her continuing to call herself Mandarb and everyone else snickering.
Or Lan calling out for Mandarb, and she always responding.
There's I love that joke, but man, I feel like it was one of those ones that it needed more time to breathe. It was a great joke, but I wanted to come back a few more times. I wanted the comic moment where Moraine tells Lan, can you go saddle Aldeeb and Mandarb?
Lan mounts Mandarb.
Or Moraine telling Perrin to go hobble Mandarb.
Man.
No, I meant her. Like, Lan's taking care of the horses. Go tie her up.
Right. Well, I think this is kind of one of those moments too, where Robert Jordan kind of drops down and uses a word that I don't know if he uses this word ever else in the entirety of the series, but he says he could not stop the guffaw that burst out of him. And it's just kind of like this sudden outburst of laughter that is uncommon, or uncharacteristic, I think, of Perrin. Really, that it's just all of a sudden that this thing struck him funny, and then she gets all pissed off and tries to teach him about the old tongue meaning blade, and he's like, horse.
So that is an interesting point. Guffaw is not a common word for him. Here, I'll do a quick. We'll see how many other times he uses it, because now I'm curious.
Challenge accepted.
Okay,
but yeah, she likes but she uses the name and boastfully is she's also got this bravado that really kind of, as from what she's told of herself at this point, this bravado that is very unearned, and I think that's pretty easily recognizable. But like, this is a name worthy of a hunter of the horn. It's like, you keep on using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. There you go. There's your Princess Bride reference, Pips.
She's
always about it.
She's acting with this sort of putting on this persona of a fierce, capable warrior to somebody who just took out a bunch of white cloaks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she had seen Perrin and Gaul, but I mean, Perrin always understates his own involvement in things. So you can assume that Perrin was like took out at least a couple of those white cloaks.
Yeah. Well, and when you consider what Perrin had done at the beginning of the book when the Myrddraal approached,
and
Perrin just fucking cleaned that thing's clock.
So to me, there's that sort of element of trying to present oneself as a peer, right? So Zareen here is trying to suggest to Perrin that she is just as competent or competent enough to be hanging around this fella. At least that's how I've always kind of imagined that interaction of the young, impressionable individual.
Yeah, and we find out. So her name is Zareen Bashir. So okay, that's her normal name. But then we find out the name she calls herself, besides Mandar, which is odd, but okay, whatever. She calls herself Fail. And what does Fail mean? It means falcon. And Perrin learns this, and he's like, fuck me. Min, why do you have to fucking tell me this shit? Like, it's just, I love his reaction. He's just like, God damn it. He's like, prophecies began. God damn it, I don't want this. Like, I think he really does not want. He just doesn't like Rand. Like, he just does not want to feel like he's being manipulated by fate or by the universe or by the pattern. Excuse my Robert Jordan. And I couldn't blame him for feeling that. I'd probably feel that way too if I was in that situation. So,
by the way, there are six Guffaws in the series.
Man, not even one per book.
Nope, you're right. It's a pretty uncommon word for him, and I think
considering how many words he wrote in the series, that's
yep. And I think at least one of them. No, it looks like all of them are in the Robert Jordan books. I thought that I was seeing an interesting pattern here, in that the first three all have loyal present. They're made by different characters, but the first three instances all have loyal present. The fourth one, I feel like loyal is around, but he's not present in the scene. So I was like, okay, I can't allow that. And then the fifth one and the sixth one are Swan and Tuon sort of scenes. So there's 4 male Guffaws, 2 female Guffaws. So unlike the Wheel of Time, not perfectly balanced on the Guffaws. Yeah.
Somebody should write an academic paper about that.
That's true. Obviously, the patriarchy is preventing women from properly guffawing.
Right.
It's only women of power who can guffaw.
Also
Right.
true. Yeah. No, that's also true.
Yeah. Well, but it just kind of shows a trend too, because before it's very only men, and then the two women come in. They're trying to, like just like third wave feminism, just come in and upset the whole deal.
Mashing the fog ceiling.
The views of the panel do not represent the views of the Nerdporial.
Lies.
I don't want. I just don't want. I don't want. I don't want to steer that course. If you understand what I'm, I'm here. I'm here to course correct this. So
it's also getting a little far into spoilery-ish. I guess I went there talking about women in power. But, yeah, my bad.
Good call. So, all right. So let's. So parent gets the hell away from this girl. She's like, so he's like, I need to go to bed. So first he's like, you know what? He goes in the room. There's Loyal. Loyal wants to talk. He's like, I don't want to talk to you. And he leaves. Finds a room by himself. Goes to sleep. And I'll just have to admit, this dream was pretty heavy. So we get to see Hopper again. Yep. And he's following Hopper. He's walking in fog. I could it's like something out of a TV show. He's in this room with a fog machine, and there's fog all over, and he's following this dog that's probably not, that's being really hard to not dog, this wolf that's really is really difficult actor to work with. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry for a hypothetical adaptation, because what we're seeing, there's no adaptation that I know of right now for this series. But
that's true.
So sorry, So we end up finding out that apparently not only are there dark friend socials in reality, but there's also dark friend socials in Teleron or in the dream world. And so Balsamon pretty much goes all Blofeld or the demon jellyhead thing from Picard season 3. Yes, I brought up Picard season 3. And executes one of the dark friends for allowing a certain character to escape from Tarvalon, and I have no idea who they're talking about. Matt, excuse me. So we got to see a little bit. We got to see that, and then of course so when you die in Teleron reality, you die in the real world too. So fucked up. Okay, all I can say is that.
Freddy Krueger stuff.
Yeah. So they so the dark friends are gone, and it's just the room with Balsamon is alone, and Lanfear just shows up. She's like, "Oh, Balsamon, you're you're hanging out in my neck of the woods.
Like, your helmet is so big and round."
And then Balsamon's like,
baseball reference.
Are you working against the Dark One? Prove your loyalty and everything. And then she's like, I serve the Dark One, and just fuck off. So that's pretty much all I got. It was just like that. They're obviously I'm assuming I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna assume none of the Forsaken really like each other, and I think some of them barely work together. But you don't have to. I read and find out. I have to read and find out. So this is just a prediction. You don't have to say anything, Pips. I know you want to, but please don't. So
you're suggesting that people who would willingly serve what somebody called the Dark One would not exactly have the most cooperative spirit in them?
I think so. Yeah, I know. It's one of my most proud notions I've ever made in my life. So
I always thought of the Forsaken as the Kumbaya tribe.
Oh, well, I could be wrong. You never know. You never know. So, but so that sequence ends, and Hopper comes back and he warns Perrin to be wary of his surroundings, and he goes and he flies. Hopper flies off because that's what he always wanted to do. He always wanted to fly. The young wolf that wanted to fly. So, so as that goes on, Perrin witnesses another dream. He's in Rand's dream now. First, I thought it was real. But it's actually a dream. So he witnesses Rand killing Shadow Spawn, and Rand thinks he's the Dark One and attacks him, and hits him with with a spell, with a burning spell. He hits him in the chest, and he wakes up, and that burn is still there. So I thought that was a pretty wild thing right there. So, and I think Perrin goes and tells Moiraine about this, and she just basically says, "You got to be careful. You're going to be fucking gentled by the Red Ajah, and we're not going to change our plans. We're going to still go to Tyr." And he asks her what Zareen is supposed to be. So Zareen is a Saldean name that means beauty who lies around cushions surrounded by suitors. Oh boy. I can only imagine who she is at this point. So
you have any predictions?
No. Okay. I can only imagine though. I'll just say she's probably from this kingdom, and she probably came from a rich family. She's probably like one of those I don't want to get political, but one of those people that they go and they shout and they do stuff in cities, and they do other stuff in cities, and when they leave, waste. And I talk about the ideal waste, and that's all I'm going to say. Okay. I don't know.
So she's a Burning Man attendee.
Sure. So, all right. So I thought the dream was pretty cool. And of course we get to see Rand's point of view right after this. So in the same chapter, this is the one chapter we see Rand in during this read. And so he basically realizes that he attacked Perrin. So he knows about this. And he's like, oh shit, I gotta be more careful. And he wakes up, and all of a sudden he gets someone comes up to him. A group comes up to him. A woman merchant and her guards want to share the camp. And he just takes out a fire sword. You can
say lightsaber. You can call it a lightsaber.
A fire sword, and slays them all. And then he uses, I don't know if he uses telekinesis, but he manipulates the bodies into a kneeling position. And he finds an 11th guy who is only there. He just has a dagger. He's like, you chose the wrong company, pal. And then he just leaves. He steals one of the horses and gets the hell out. So the question I have is, were they dark friends? Did he know they were dark friends, or did he just think they were?
I will say, and this is for the Dane Bornholds in the chat. It's frequently commented on that Rand has 5 horses in the series. He actually has 6, which is this one right here. It's the unnamed 6th horse. He rides for some portion of the Dragon Reborn. I don't think we ever actually see this horse again.
It's uncertain whether the horse survived long on this journey, but like the bit at the end of the chapter with this sort of thoughts in Rand's head. I will put an end to it. The taunting, the baiting, I will end it. Kalendor. It called to him. So going through Rand's mindset at this point in time, he's incredibly focused on this one particular goal of ending the conflict, and he doesn't really say he's aiming to win here, just aiming to end it, right? And so this is a one of those snapshots of the psychology of Rand and the pressure he's under, from his own perspective in this book.
Well, he also he up to this point has very much experienced the struggle that he is in as literally being like a one-on-one, friggin' cage match with Balzamon, right? So
yeah, two men walk in, only one walks out. Except Balzamon cheats and comes back.
Yes.
You can never be honest.
All right. I want to say thank you for subscribing, Bibbidi Bop 5896. All right. Do you guys hear a transmission? I think I hear a transmission.
Yep, for sure.
All right. I think it's this. Here it is. Found it. You're gonna go in with the blast. All right, yeah, I thought that was a pretty sick. Moment right there with Rand and everything. I thought it was insane. Like, I like how we see very little Rand in the book, and what we see is freaking. Like, I mean, we got the first, like, I think it was real. I forget. I think it was the first stream. I think we got see Rand just like completely. I don't know if it was Balefire. I think Balefire that Darkhound that attacked him, or just completely destroyed it. Either completely destroyed or removed it from existence. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
Completely destroyed.
Well, also what we see of Rand is like, we see these little vignettes, and they definitely don't paint a picture of a person in, good mental health,
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole, like, having the corpses kneel to him, like, you're like, what the hell?
I was thinking, I mean, I'm going to have to draw from a certain author who's never going to finish his book, but I thought of, with the kneeling, I just thought of in Game of Thrones when Joffrey orders Tyrion to kneel, and I just couldn't help it. I couldn't help but think of that when Rand was, I'm sure Rand was thinking, you bodies just kneel before me and everything. I don't know. Something sinister. I don't know. It's fun. But I was just like, I had to read it and I was like, holy shit, this is really happening? Like, oh, I'm like, where is this going to go? What is next for Rand? And
if it's not sinister, then it's at least morbid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so in both cases, it's not that particularly great of a optic.
Yeah. Before we move on too, so where did the I guess there's the answer in the chat. I was going to ask you because you didn't say explicitly, what the extra guy was.
He's a great person. He's a great person. You can't say gray man anymore, Pips. So
well, I didn't say that.
You were thinking it. Oh, I'm kidding. But I couldn't help because of certain sensibilities, certain current sensibilities. I was like, can't say gray man anymore. Just gotta say gray person. I know it's stupid. Like literally, like in Chicago, there's a term. It's called alderman. They say alder person.
Good.
They say fucking alder person.
That's the kind of progress that we need. The kind of progress that accomplishes nothing.
Pips. Pips, you're absolutely right. That is the accomplishment we need, and you're just wrong. And you're just. I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah.
So, all right, but that's the end of Perrin Part 1. I thought that was very, very, very interesting. Now we are on to the best character in the series, Lyle Hammock's favorite character, Egwene. Egwene and her accepted. I just call them the accepted, our heroes of the accepted. So Egwene. So where do we begin with Egwene? So they're on board another ship. So there's a lot of ships. There's a lot of inns in this read. So I couldn't keep track of all of them. So I wrote it down. So they're on the Blue Crane, and they're on the river, the Aranon, and they're trying to head to Tyr.
Yep.
And of course, they're witnessing shit from their ship. Apparently, the Kyrian is still in its civil war.
Yep.
And prices went up, and refugees are flooding a lot of the cities, especially in the Matt chapter that we'll get to. And of course, Egwene has all these dreams. Of course, she dreams of Rand and the Fire Sword, obviously. And of course, there's Perrin with the wolf, Falcon, and the hawk. The Falcon and the hawk are fighting. So I'm curious who the hawk is. I think I might have an idea. I mean, well, I don't have a name, but I think I know where they're from.
Where are they from?
Probably there's a character named Hawkwing, and his descendants are Shan-Chan. So I'm assuming this hawk is a Shan-Chan.
Read and find out.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. Running from so apparently they're running from someone deadly. What?
You thought so.
And stepping over. So apparently there's something about happening over the edge of a towering cliff. So I'm curious where that goes. Of course, there's also men springing a trap but not getting caught. So I'm wondering if that has to do with Black Aja. I'll find out. And of course, there's Matt spinning dice, followed by a gray man riding desperately towards something unseen in the distance, and with the woman tossing fireworks. Who has fireworks in this world? Illuminators. So we might or might not meet a certain Illuminator who might have been fucked over because of something that happened in the Great Hunt. I was like, is this the same? Is this the woman who's supposed to be heard the Great Hunt? And I was just like, I went and checked, and I was like, yep. So yeah. And of course, this is where it gets really interesting. Men and women breaking out of cages and putting on crowns. Women playing with puppets with strings to greater puppets. Kings dying, queens weeping, battles raging. White cloaks ravaging the two rivers. Okay, that was set up. In the prologue. And of course, Shan-Chan, she dreams of the Shan-Chan. Of course, she puts them in the corner because PTSD, obviously, won't think about them. And of course, she also thinks about the White Cloaks like doing shit to her mother and father because they're ravaging the two rivers. I think I don't remember exactly. But I'm kind of curious I'm curious how these all are going to play out. So, yeah, we can find out. So, one thing is I think like the whole Matt being chased by a gray man, it seems like they don't really care about it, or they doubt it's true. They doubt the dream is actually true because they don't think Matt is important enough. I was like, oh wow, that's Rafe Judkins too. He doesn't think he's important.
Hey now. If I'm not allowed to talk about the show,
I can make fun of it though. So.
What I like about the Egwene and Elaine and Nynaeve sections are, one, when they actually get out of the tower and they start to actually kind of do some more interesting stuff, which is my theory of like why the 13 Aes Sedai Black Sister that hunt happens is like Robert Jordan, like they needed to have something to do, right?
Yeah.
So they have their own kind of like little side quests that they're on, but while they're doing it, you start to see Egwene and Nynaeve's kind of tension. You saw it a little bit even before they made it back to the White Tower after Falma, but you see it more and more and more as their little journey goes on. Which leads to some, somewhat decent interpersonal comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it reveals a number of things about the various characters, right? Because it shows that Egwene thinks that she is Nynaeve's equal now that they're both accepted, right? so Egwene has this status-based mentality in her mind. It also shows a lot of Elaine's more positive characteristics. And I know on the White Cloaks she gets a lot of flack. I think
early Elaine is great. Elaine is a pretty decent character. Between the three of them, Elaine is almost always the voice of reason until like
until she no longer has to counteract Egwene.
Yes,
essentially.
that's a good way of putting it. Once it's her and Nynaeve, and what? Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good way of putting it. She starts to assert her own personality flaws.
But it also shows, like, this whole chunk shows Egwene is still an incredibly naive person about the world. She doesn't know anything about the wider world at all, despite thinking she knows so much, and that's very clearly comes off. You'll get through her interactions with the Aiel, and Elaine is constantly trying to tell Egwene what's going on without directly expressing it. But Egwene is still just she is equally as bullheaded as all the rest of the characters from the Two Rivers, which comes to all of the characters' detriments at some points in time, but serves them well at other points in time. So I actually really, despite not liking Egwene as a character, let's put it this way, I don't like her as a person, but I actually very much enjoy her as a character.
I feel like that's a fairly universal reaction to her, except for Jonathan R. and a couple others.
Lyle.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, you see the arcs for Egwene, you see some for Elaine and Nynaeve, and they're all the arcs are very believable. They're all well fleshed out, and their turns in personality.
Their turns like in actual people.
Right. Yeah, and actual people that we've all met, because some of them be crazy, some of them not. But either way, it's all very believable in terms of how their characters progress, and that's the same thing with the men. I mean, you're seeing a whole lot of change in this book here with Rand, in terms of just how brief he's been in it, but there's a drastic change in his personality because he doesn't know what the hell's going on, and those actions are very clearly about somebody who doesn't know what the hell's going on, is trying to figure something out. And so I mean, these fleshing out of these characters as the series goes on is very well done, and that's one of the great things about the series, and probably what intrigues me the most about it is that the building blocks that Robert Jordan put there were also very pointed and intentional, and really did serve a purpose of creating a very good story and continuing to build on that, using those characters where it makes sense that, okay, you get to this point and these characters have this arc, so they get to these points and they've all been written so that they all have this personality at this point in time and this point in time. And there are very few authors, I think, that can pull that kind of
and it's
depth
a
off.
Believable progress.
Yes,
from that shift in personality as well. Throughout the
whole arc. I can't wait to see the way they go, or the way they progress in their like I said, their personalities. Like Alex, I mean, in a stream I accidentally listened to, said Egwene did this once to Nynaeve, and I was just like, oh shit. So so I'm really curious. I mean, part of the reason why I'm still reading this series. I'm really curious where all this goes, where the characters are going to be, and of course, Darth Rand was teased to me, so I kind of need to see this for myself. So, but I mean, like I read the Eye of the World the second time, and it was the characters that really got me to want to keep reading the story. So it was the character interactions and everything that really I really found likable and even believable, and something even relatable to a degree too, especially when Rand and Mara on their own. I've said this multiple times, and I really enjoyed the Great Hunt. I really enjoyed the Great Hunt. This one's I'll reserve my opinions for this for next week when we get to the final part. Once I finish the book and have be able to collect my thoughts, I'll share that. But so far I've been happy with these first 3 books. And
do you think that the Dragon Reborn is just the Great Hunt all over again? Have you found yourself to be just super bored and just like, it's the same book?
Well, yeah.
Magnum, Tigra, it's all the same book.
Well, yeah, it's the same book. They go from point A to point B. They chase the MacGuffin, and then then Egwene and Nynaeve need something to do, so they give them a Scooby-Doo arc, with the Black Aja, and I'm sure you're probably going to punch me if I wasn't behind the screen, punch me in the face for saying Scooby-Doo. But
no, I mean that's why I said they're on like a side quest. It's one of the reasons why. I mean, this is, I guess, a little bit of a spoiler for kind of like how long into the story that arc goes. But it's one of the reasons I've said, like, if you were going to cut things out of the story, you could probably cut a good portion of the like 13 sister kind of Black Aja, arc, if you were trying to, make deep cuts for a, say, 64 episode adaptation of,
so nowhere near as consequential as you're led to believe.
I mean, obviously less consequential than, the scissoring that we got in season 1, that was the most consequential. So on a scale of 0 to scissoring, I mean, it's
the one thing for me about the idea of cutting material from the books is a lot of it does seem fairly minor throughout each individual book, but it's a domino effect that leads to other things that are so much greater.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think that it would, like, I wouldn't want to cut that. I'm just saying that, like, if you're saying that you had to make huge cuts, like, ultimately the only way to make those types of cuts, to cut down to, like I said, a 64 episode adaptation, is you'd have to basically cut full arcs, right? You'd have to just say this whole series of events never happened, right?
Right.
Or how I would kind of prefer it, that you just don't show those things happening to the audience, right? So there's a lot of arcs that are a lot of things that we see that you could just say, cool, those just happen sort of off screen,
Yeah, you have to complete the setup and payoff. If you get rid of the setup, you can't have the payoff. And Robert Jordan, I think I mentioned this the last time, his ability to set up and pay off like 5-6 books down the line is freaking amazing.
I will say that the 13 Black Aja thing pays off in Crossroads of Twilight, and I say in adapting the series, you just throw Crossroads of Twilight out, and so setup removed, payoff removed, like we're good.
So that far down the line, huh? Interesting. Okay. Remember, I have the memory of a goldfish, so just saying. All right, so let's keep this going. We're already 90 minutes in. So so apparently one of the things that Egwene's getting annoyed is Egwene's getting annoyed at Nynaeve for taking charge because she's the oldest, even though Egwene and all of them are, the same level now. They're accepted, and Egwene's like, "You're not the boss of me now. Fuck you," or that's what she's thinking at least.
Which is actually hilarious when you consider the rules for determining ranking among Aes Sedai that are revealed later on.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Honestly,
I'm still a sweet summer child in that regard.
He doesn't know any of the rules of sort of ranking. Yeah.
So yeah, just
but neither does Egwene, right? I guess.
So.
Yeah. So the blue crane gets stuck in a mud flat. There's a peak, or it gets stuck on a mud flat, or it gets stuck on like a sunken ship or something. I forget what it was.
Mud flat, I think.
Yeah,
sunken ship.
And they're like, okay, all right, we gotta get the hell off. We're like, there's no way they're gonna get the ship free. So they're like, they have to get another ship to help. And what's funny is, a few chapters later, Matt's on the ship. Matt and Tom are on the ship that passes them by and doesn't help them in the first place. I'm like, they're on the. I forget. There was the Ilion. I forget the guy was from Tyr, right? The captain of Matt's ship was from Tyr, I believe. Do
you remember the
very problematic captain?
Do you remember the reasoning for it? I think the reasoning is given. The captain of Matt's ship thinks that because of the situation in Karheim, it's likely, or at least possibly, a trap by bandits and brigands.
Oh, yeah, that could be the case.
And so he's like, "No, we're not going to help anybody because it's potentially going to be a piratey situation going on."
Yeah, one of those cases where every good deed goes punished. No good deed goes unpunished or something. So,
and Matt's big objection for not stopping actually plays a huge role in just who he is as a character. That is one of the things that actually stays consistent throughout the series. I don't know if you recall what his big objection was.
If I remember correctly, he doesn't want to. What I'm taking from this is when people ask for help, he's like, "How much?"
Right, but there was a particular individual that he had seen, at the on the ship, that or near the ship, that drew his sympathies. It was
it Egwene?
No, it was just a woman with a babe.
Oh, when he's in what was it called? The hell's the name of that town? Erangel or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Arangel.
Yeah. He gives her money. He sees the woman. She's got like 3 kids. She's got like 2 or 3 kids.
Right.
And they have nothing. They have nothing. And there's no food. There's a food shortage in the town. There's and there's no room for anybody in the inn. So now you know how, Mary and Joseph fell with the baby Jesus. They
right.
there was no room to. They had to couldn't even sleep in the stable.
Yeah, and as I recall, that memory kind of popped up as they're watching the ship, as they're going by the ship. If I recall.
Yeah,
I think I got that right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a consistent play on Matt, on Matt's character, that actually gets another play at the end of his little arc in this section.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, High Lord Salmon. I always say salmon. I don't know if it's salmon or whatever. I just say salmon just for it's a fish and everything. It's just funny. And with what we learned about a certain leader of a certain city, I'm curious if there's a parallel with this High Lord Salmon and what we find out. Well, it would be obviously wouldn't be today, but I'm curious if we find out who the true identity of this High Lord Salmon is. But that'll be I'll reserve that for the end. So, but going back, so Nynaeve, our 3 ladies leave the ship, and they're walking, and voila, they run into Spear, Maidens of the Spear. So for the first time we meet Avienda. We meet Avienda and who else? Avienda of the Nine Valley Sept of the Tardad Aiel, because that's how they introduce themselves. They're whatever sept they are, and whatever. So is the Tardad, is that the clan, or so is this? So the sept is just like what is the sept like?
So a sept is just a sub organization of a clan, right? So so you think that clan is the larger. So there's Aiel, and then there's clan, and then there's sept, and then there's like, I guess you'd say maybe hold is the lowest.
Okay. Because and
you'll hear someone say that I'm Cold Rock's hold of the clan sept, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the hold would I think be like saying what town you're from.
Oh, okay, all right, makes sense. And of course, we meet others. We meet Chiad, we meet Bane, we meet Jolien, and we meet Dalen. And Dalen is the one that was wounded in a fight with Kyrian and soldiers. And so they asked them if they need if they can heal her. And Nynaeve does, and Nynaeve uses the one power, and like both of them are in like extreme pain during the weaving. I think Egwene even witnesses the weaves or something, and I think it was described as felt like her skin was coming off, like it was just like it was that painful. I was just like, Jesus. And she had to draw on her anger from the dark side to be able to heal her. So I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny whenever Nynaeve does stuff like this. She has to use her anger in order to heal everybody. So we learn about what's up.
Did you notice any sort of other things that Egwene noted in particular about these Aiel?
She well, like she was like, I think she had she was glowing with Saidar, and then I think it was Elaine that stopped. But then I think after a while, I think she just felt like connected to Avienda. I think if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of detail to take in. So.
Yeah. So what Gadfly is talking about is Egwene, that affinity is through Rand. That she says that they look like Rand's cousin.
Because of the reddish hair and the height and everything. Yeah. Blue eyes, gray eyes, whatever. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. We learn, what's funny is we learn about first sisters and second sisters. So apparently, first sisters, you're supposed to have like the same mother if you're a first sister, and then a second sister, you're like a cousin, or your mothers are sisters, or something. So it's funny how Chiad and Bane are the ones that are first sisters, even though they don't have the same mother. They just went to each other's clans during a feud to be sworn in as first sisters. I didn't quite get it. The maidens are not allowed to obviously aim their spears at each other, but they wanted to take that a step further in the relationship.
Think of it like, I don't know, blood brothers or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. They go through a ritual to become, true siblings.
Okay. So I thought that was interesting, worth noting. And
the way in which the Aiel construct their relations is actually a very historically accurate way of how most people throughout antiquity and much of the Middle Ages relate their relations to each other. The idea of, oh, I am my mother's sister's whatever. It's
your father's mother's cousin's former roommate.
That's what I was thinking too.
So what does that make us?
Nothing. Absolutely
nothing.
Which is what you are about to become.
But yeah, so this the idea of our modern parlance of having all these particular words, cousin and aunt and uncle and nephew and niece, those are that's one of those examples of the fusion between the Romance language of the French Normans and the Germanic language of the Anglo-Saxons mixing together. It's everywhere else in the world. They do relate, or at those times they relate their family trees in that way. So my nephews are always referred to as the son of my brother, and the nieces are the daughter of my sister, or the daughter of my sister-in-law, and stuff like that. So it's very actually correct the way in which the Aiel display their relations to each other. So just throwing that out there.
No, well, but that's consistently what Jordan has done, much like what Tolkien did when he wrote, is he pulled from very real historical cultures and used those. It wasn't just modern day cultures across the world, which I'm sure that that kind of thing exists today too. But he really was a good student of history, and being able to sit there and translate that into a different culture in his world, and then convey that very clearly, even as confusing as it can be to sit there and like, how does one become a first brother, a second sister, or whatever, but it just there's the lore drop that he puts into this chapter is epic, because all of a sudden now you get a bigger picture of the Aiel. You're introduced to wise men or wise ones. You're introduced to clans, septs, and all of this stuff that occurs just naturally in the conversation between two very distinct groups of people that aren't really. They're looking for identification between the two of them, but it's just a very well built dialogue between these folks.
Egwene is playing the role of the useful idiot in the conversation, not knowing anything, and so having stuff explained to her.
That's a role she plays very naturally.
I feel like I'm the Egwene of this discussion right now.
No, you're doing a great job as hosting these discussions. I think you're doing great with this series. Jacob, I think, said something about he felt that the Aiel had very sort of Fremen vibes. And I know that there's a lot of people who have attributed the Aiel, really the Shadow Rising and onward. There's some of the the plots around the Aiel and things like that, and they're like, oh, it's just Dune, Yeah.
Do we get long live the fighters? Yay.
I think that Robert Jordan almost certainly was intimately aware of Dune, right? Writing in that time and in that genre, like I think it's safe to say that he probably was not just aware of, but had probably read Herbert, right? But I feel like Robert Jordan has said pretty explicitly that he never took inspiration from anyone else's sort of fictitious, kind of cultures for his own. And he never used just one sort of source, right? He always took at least 2 or 3 different cultures and amalgamated them, right? And I suppose you can say, well, that's a nice thing for him to say, but the Aiel are still clearly Fremen, right? But I've always thought that the Aiel are just there, and he said this, right? The Aiel are based off of a mix between some Great Plains Indian nations, Berber sort of tribes, as well as the Maasai, or the Zulu. Those two sort of famous kind of African tribes, North African sort of Saudi, Middle Eastern kind of nomads, the Berbers, right? And then, like I said, the sort of Cherokee and just kind of Great Plains nations in North America. And if you look at them from that perspective, like, I think it kind of removes the necessity of them being a clone of the Fremen. So, when you think of a hypothesis, a good hypothesis has to both be necessary and sufficient to describe the outcome. The Fremen hypothesis of that it's a Fremen clone is sufficient to explain the Aiel, but it's not necessary. And I think that Robert Jordan lays out a good inspiration path how he got to the Aiel on his own. So I've always tried to push back a little bit on the idea that the Aiel are just Robert Jordan writing the Fremen.
But yeah, I'd like to think that's the case as well, because I've listened to Jordan talk about that. So yeah, and plus, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's some subtle differences too.
It does bring out a very interesting conversation about the depicting a realistic desert-based warrior society. Just by the very nature of their environment, certain things are going to happen in a certain way. Culturally, water is going to be very precious to them, right? That's obviously going to be it.
They're afraid of if I remember correctly from reading this, they're afraid of rivers and everything. They're afraid of water. They had to overcome.
They don't know how to swim.
They don't know how to swim, so they had to overcome that fear by crossing their river. So one thing that's really brought up in this chapter is that the Aiel will, face their fears. They'll face their fears standing up.
So one of the other big things, though, is that minerals like iron for your weapons is going to be in short supply. So that is going to determine the type of weaponry and armor that you use. So if you look at the descriptions of the Aiel warriors, like, they're never wearing chainmail armor or any type of metal armor whatsoever, because they don't have the resources available to produce that at any meaningful level, right?
And they're in the desert.
Yeah. Well, in the desert doesn't necessarily mean that you wouldn't wear metal, because that's where the surcoats from knights came from. Going on the Crusades, they would wear the surcoats over their mail, which would then prevent the mail from getting too wear.
Like this fine looking gentleman.
I don't see any. I don't see anything, Pips. I don't know what you're talking about. So, but going back.
That's a Sir Pips to you with my surcoat.
Sir Pips. Okay. All right. So they take their leave. They take their leave with the maidens, and they keep going, and then they get captured. They counter guys with slings, right in the head, bonk in the head.
Boom, headshot.
So, yeah, and then they, yeah. So I think it was not only once, but Egwene got knocked out twice. So she comes to, tied to the horse, I think facing down, and realizes they're going into this place with palisades and fires and a bunch of people and horses and shit everywhere. And then they knock her out because she's like, "I'm not going to hurt you." Yeah, bullshit. They knock her out. She comes to. She is not tied. They had some sour wine in her mouth. They drugged her with this particular root. I forgot what the root is, and they did not administer it properly because she woke up.
Leaf or something like that.
Yeah, because she woke up, and then she woke up Nynaeve, and then they had to heal Elaine. So they had to heal. So she had to heal Elaine because Elaine had a major injury from the head injury. So, so I'll say, so they're looking out. So they're in a very small room with a very thin wall. They look in, they see like their captors, or they're like, oh, somebody's coming to sell them. And she's like, no, I'm not going to be sold again. I'm not going to be sold. I will not be sold.
Yeah, she kind of spurts out a little bit.
Yeah. And then of course then she goes and heals them, and then they go back right before like they decide to unlock the door with their the one power, see who they're dealing with, and there's three Murtrol in there, and they're the three Murtrol want them for some reason. And then as they're about to bust loose themselves, so about to take them on, the Aiel come and they start killing everybody. They jump in, they start killing everybody, and I thought this was awesome when they engaged the Murdraw. Dance with us, Shell, man. Dance with us. Dance with us. Dance with us. And it's funny how it's funny how they are not affected by the effect of a fade. Or at least I didn't, or at least it wasn't obvious.
So what I would say is think of when Rand sees a Murdral in the halls of Faldara, and Ingtar comes up next to him and is like, hey, you go, like, you're too green for this. Like, I'll face this Murdral, right? And Ingtar just goes after him, right?
Yeah.
Or think of the Shinarans in the Vale at the start of this book, fighting the Trollocs and Murdral in their freaking like naked, and they just run out and like maybe their boxer trunks, and they got their swords out. So
fucking Missima.
I think that we've seen several cultures of people who have become professional to the point where I think that they still experience the fear. They don't allow the fear to rule them, Yeah,
the training and experience, especially with the Shinarans dealing with that stuff on a semi-regular basis.
Yep.
And if you look at the map, you'll notice that the Aiel Waste also borders the Blight.
Do they have
the dying land?
Do they have their so do they, these like Aiel, the Shinards, do they have their own version of the oneness or the void, where they manage they don't let anything they don't let anything affect them emotionally?
I don't think that the Aiel really ever talk much about that, but I think it's implied, right? Like, we are given information to take on the idea that the oneness or the flame in the void or whatever we want to call it is a thing that is fairly common to.
I don't think it's fairly common, but I think it's common amongst those people who reach that certain pinnacle.
That's what I meant. That that it's something that is known among your real master kind of swordsmen and cross culturally. And I think that the Aiel, a lot of their cultural stuff, and I don't want to spoil it for you, a lot of their cultural identity really lends it to the point where you would think that yes, they're probably using the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably a lot of different ways in which different cultures visualize it. But the one that Rand gets introduced to by Tam is the flame in the void.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of, so you can just imagine that there's a lot of different people who have that same sort of idea of just taking all of their emotional surroundings and anxieties and just pushing it and crushing it till it's gone in the moment.
Yeah.
And they're just focus, like pure focus.
Yeah, it's a very disciplined mode of operation at all times, where
disciplined I think
everything is everything becomes a minor thing so that it enables you to capitalize on your activities against whatever enemy is confronting you.
Yeah, to the point the questioners brings up about hardened warriors being less susceptible, I still don't think that it's a less susceptible. I think that it is you're able to be less affected. So you are as susceptible to it. You are able to focus on the task at hand, and so it is not as crippling. And that's maybe a fine detail, but I think the reason that I bring it up is, the way it's described to us, one of the things that we learn, right, is hey, it's said along the borderlands that the look of the eyeless is fear. And so the description of the Fade's power is something that we are told as the reader from the Borderlander perspective. And the Borderlanders are those hardened warriors who are, the people who most frequently encounter Murderall. So I think that it is not that they're not susceptible. I think that it's like Gadfly was saying, that they're able to put all of those distractions aside and sort of live in that moment,
Okay.
That's something that you actually hear a fair number of high quality combat athletes talking about. Like boxing is one of those things where you hear some of the big successful boxers talking about, like, as soon as they step into that ring, like nothing outside of that ring exists in their mind, and it's just everything is so clear about that moment and that instance.
Yeah. Again, I feel like we might be derailing your stream here, but I think this was a good conversation.
Something for a lot of people to learn.
I mean, I like a lot of the philosophy of the different cultures in Wheel of Time. So I think there's a lot of good discussions here, but we're trying to maybe we need to bring it back to what the actual subject of tonight's stream for you there. Sorry, nerd man.
No, it's fine. I was listening. Don't have. I mean, we're about halfway. We could kind of speed it up. So, but yeah. So how are the night? All the men are dead except for the 3 Murderall. So how do they make their end? Well, our heroines break out of the room, and they all gather Saidar, and they burn the shit out of them. They'll fire them to hell.
There's 3 things that happen, and I think 3 things that encapsulate the characters very well. Elaine binds them all up with air. I think she just constricts them and stops them from acting and moving, and like crushes them and smothers them. Whereas Egwene burns them with fire, right? And then Nynaeve just makes one of them cease to exist. So it's 3 very different things that they do, but I think all 3 are quite reflective of the characters of the people who are doing them.
The thing that I like about this scene is the Aiel, how they face down the Fades with the there's what is it? It's 6-on-3, right? But they're described as like,
taking turns or something.
Basically, like knowing that they're facing their death here, but they're still gonna attack the 3, right?
Yeah.
Which goes into a conversation that we had in the Discord about how Perrin would absolutely beat Avienda in a fight. Because Perrin one-on-one soloed a Murdral, and we have 6 Aiel facing 3, and they're like, yeah, maybe one of us survives this if we're lucky.
Yeah.
Well, they, I love it because tactically they got around them, and they basically put them in what most people would consider a no-win situation for the Murdral. Yeah, it's a very
from a tactical perspective, we'd say they got him in the horns of a dilemma.
Yes. But at the same time, like, you would think that when you've got that kind of an advantage, then you press that advantage, and all they're doing is circling and taunting them, saying, dance with me. They're not making the move. And normally you'd just make the move, wouldn't you?
No. So that's the thing that tells me the fact that they know that they are not a match for Murdral.
Well, yes. Right.
Because the reason that you try and taunt them like that is that when you have an advantage and when you have them encircled, if they step forward, they are exposing themselves to the other side. That's why I said so. It's a common military tactic of an envelopment or something like that, right? But the reason I said horns of a dilemma is in Marine speak, we would say, combined arms sort of, solution, or a combined arms problem, depending on which side you're on, where if I try to deal with the threat in front of me, I make myself more vulnerable to the other threat. And so they're trying to taunt them because, they know that if they try and push into the fades, then their advantage almost completely disappears, right? Whereas if they get them, if they get them to come out, then now they're able to use the space and use their dispersion to their advantage. Gotcha. So it's actually I really like it because I think, again, Robert Jordan understood understood how you stage a fight.
Yeah. What's the Sun Tzu? When you are weak, make yourself seem strong. When you are strong, make yourself seem weak. So the maidens in this instance are putting on the bravado, trying to force the Murdral's engagement. But the Murdral, knowing in my mind, knowing they have the advantage when they are like that, right? So it's both sides are trying to set themselves up for winning the conflict, and they both kind of know that the one who acts first is going to be the one who loses almost.
It would be interesting, sort of the counterfactual of like, what if the 3 girls hadn't popped out and just kind of smoked them all? Like how long would they have like stood there sort of taunting at each other? Would it be like a 3 days later and they're still like, dance with me?
Yeah. It probably would have been, but we gotta keep this moving. So yeah, great. Thanks for sharing all that stuff. So the Murdral are destroyed. And we meet another character, Ruark, who is Avienda's like clan chief or something. And apparently they're being told by the wise ones to go and seek out to go to the West Fold Land and seek out the one who carries the dawn or whatever. And so the Aiel escort the girls to this new town, Jareen. And they get a new ship. They get on a new ship. And the funny thing is, at the end of this chapter, we find out the Blue Crane is still on the mud flat. Bum 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 bum. It's just like this was meant to be a funny thing. Oh, we're still fucking here, So, but yeah, so that wraps up Egwene. We're done with Egwene. So, for now. So,
Thank God.
All right, so we'll quickly cover Matt. So Matt is we already talked about Matt going to Intergal, and we already talked about the situation there. We talked about the mom and the kids and everything, and the stables and all that. So Matt and Tom are staying in the stable, and then of course we already talked about Ludra. We already talked about the fireworks, illuminator, everything. Great hunt. And then we find out that we find out that this guy Tammuz or something, Tammuz, and some men from the guild wanted to steal her fireworks and murder her or something. So Matt rescues her because Matt's the man now. Like he's got the quarterstaffs. Like I'm gonna handle this shit. And so she's like, okay, here's some fireworks. Be careful with it. You could lose an eye. You could lose an eye or a hand or something. So be fucking careful. And I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Oh yeah, Matt won horses. So Matt paid a lot of money. What?
I was just saying that it's the BB gun. You'll put your eye out.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in the game 8-bit, or in the movie 8-bit, which was kind of a copy of that. You can rot your brain, kid, if you want a Nintendo. So same idea. So they got fireworks, and Matt was able to win 2 horses from playing the one innkeeper that had the dice cup, and that like you do your 2 best against my one, and he still won. So he won 2 horses for him and Tom. So the moment they got into that fight, they had the horses, they flew the fuck out of there. Like once again, this is the part of the story where like getting the fuck out of Dodge moments here. So so they leave, and should we cover the point of view at the very end in chapter 44? Do you think we should cover that?
Just one brief comment on the a lot of getting the hell out of Dodge, right? I think the like narrative purpose of this, right, is giving the audience perception that the characters are starting to be more known. They're more known to the adversary. They're being kind of highlighted in a way that they were not in the previous 2 books. In the previous 2 books, especially the first book, they were like mostly kind of low key. People were looking for him, but it was much less targeted. It was much more like we don't really know like who exactly we're looking for. We're just kind of looking for some boys. We're just kind of looking. But now it is like it's like zeroing in where like they're like out in the freaking wilderness, and
they're being attacked by random gray people, and it's just
the gray men are on them, and freaking dark hounds and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So the threat level is getting amped up, and the issue is that none of the characters at this point are any more sort of powerful or like more kind of secure or anything than they were previously, right? Like they haven't leveled up yet, and so they're like
Karen killed a Murdral, and I think Rand leveled up.
Obviously. Well, they haven't leveled up from kind of like the start of this book, right? So like the end of the Great Hunt, like they haven't kind of leveled up again. But the tension, the level of threat is increasing. And so, they're like, everybody is basically running away because they're constantly getting, interacting with threats that they can't really face.
You're also seeing them exert themselves on the world more. Not so much Rand, because you don't really have too much perspective on him, but Perrin freeing the Aiel, and Matt interfering with Tammuz and Aludra. Both of them are no longer as timid as they were from the first book in the series, and even in the second book of the series. So they feel more empowered to affect the world around them, as opposed to just affecting the people within their own circle. So yeah, they have not increased their own power, but they are exerting themselves a lot more.
Yeah, with a with a lot of naivete, I would say.
Yeah, it's still incredibly
really
naive. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they really don't know what they're doing. Like with Perrin and taking out that Murdral. I mean, that was all of a sudden there's this thing that's kind of overtaking his personality, and it scares him. How he goes about doing what he did. So he's leveled up, but he's not really harnessed that level up, so to speak. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Or refined it. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I figured, the characters would like I said, they're more well known. They're obviously playing a bigger part in this overall story and in this overall situation. And honestly, I can't wait to see where how they even continue to grow from here. So, like, a lot of things change in this book. Like Matt's more. I mean, Matt can obviously handle himself. Obviously, we got to see him with the quarterstaff. And of course, once again, Perrin killed the Murdral in the beginning, and so he's pretty capable too. And Rand is just in the last book, and this he's just freaking nuts. And now with Egwene and Nynaeve just killing the 3 Murdral like nothing, like they're getting, it's just like they're growing. I can't wait to see where they continue to go, and how they grow even more and everything. So yeah, we'll have to see. So, but we have. I was thinking we could cover the Matt stuff, or we could just keep going in order. Might as well just keep going in order then. So, Perrin part 2. So they're in Ilion, and so Zareen is annoying Moraine during this on the ship. They're arriving, and so because of the fact that they're bitching and moaning, and like I said earlier, like the secrecy is being unraveled, and Moraine's just like, you fucking idiots. Like, why does everybody know I'm Aes Sedai? Everybody on the ship knows. Then later, everybody in the Taming the Badger, was it called Taming the Badger or Easing the Badger? Easing the Badger. Everybody knows that she's Aes Sedai. She's like, what the fuck? Shut the fuck up. Like you guys are ruining. You guys are jeopardizing the mission. You know that. So, but they're trying really hard to get what's her name, Fail, to leave them, and she's like, no, I want to stay. I can't pass up this excitement. And I'm just thinking, wasn't there a character in the beginning of the story that couldn't pass up the excitement and wanted to go with anyways? So very like a parallel to a certain character. Gwen, excuse me, sorry, that was a slip of the tongue, cough, so thing, I don't know. So, but yeah, I think she's Zareen is annoying me as a reader. I'm just like, I was with parents, was like, yeah, just dump her overboard already and be done with it. So, and parents like, please just go away. Like they're trying not to give her the information. At least he's trying not to give her the information so that she gets bored enough to get her to leave on her own merits. So it was I thought it was kind of funny. And of course it doesn't succeed. So she's still with them. And they go to Easing the Badger, and we find out that the innkeeper is one of Moraine's agents. So apparently Moraine Moraine obviously owns an agency and has agents all over the place, doing missions for her and everything. So, well, at least that's what I gather from this. So, and we find out I think the innkeeper's name is Nieda Sidoro, and we find out that there's a Lord Brend who just got raised to the Council of Nine of Ilion. And I was like, okay. So just like the High Lord Salmon of Tyr, we have someone who nobody's heard of. We have someone that nobody has heard of that just got raised to a high position just randomly. Because if I remember correctly in the earlier chapters, like Tom, being familiar with the game of houses and all that, pretty much knows everybody. And he's like, I've never heard of this High Lord Salmon. What the fuck? So, but yeah, so we hear about this Lord Brend, and Perrin is like, oh shit, I'm smelling something. Something's just wrong here. And so and so once again, everybody. So he smells something, and then all of a sudden they're eating dinner, and then they get attacked. So they get attacked too by gray men or gray people. Excuse me. Gotta be sensitive. Six gray people have attacked them. They're all going for Perrin. So they don't care about Moraine. They don't care about anybody else. But they went for Perrin. And Moraine used the power, and that's why everybody fucking knows now she's an Aes Sedai in the end. I know I'm swearing a lot. It's funny. But it's so everybody knows now, and she's just pissed. And what's funny, what we learn here is at least what I learned here, and what makes this very engaging and menacing and very is that Lan and Moraine were not able to sense. They were able to sense the shadow spawn, but they were not able to sense the gray men. It was only Perrin who was able to sniff and find out that there was something wrong, and that's what kept them from getting killed. Forthright. So,
I really like the way this scene is written.
Why?
So, the way this scene is written, where it keeps on, you keep on sort of seeing the room, if you will, right? Here, I almost want to just get the book and read it here. So give me a second. I think I have the PDF pulled up.
It's story time with Pips, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the question is, will I stay awake for the thing? Oh, thanks. Yeah, we love you, Pips. We love you, Pips. Let's find my copy.
Yeah, which chapter is this one again?
This is chapter 42.
All right, let's
the badger.
So the part where it says, he looked at the companions. He smells the wrongness was there, ajar at the edge of Fremen. This time, he studied the room again. Billy against the wall, some men crossing the floor, the girl singing on the table, all laughing, men sitting around her, men crossing the floor. He frowned at them. 6 men with ordinary faces walking towards where he was sitting, very ordinary faces. He was just staring or starting to re-inspect the men, listening to the girl, when suddenly it came to him that the stink of wrongness was rolling from the 6. Abruptly, they had daggers in their hands, as if they had realized he had seen them. They have knives, he roared, and he threw the cheese platter at them, which also hilarious. He just throws a cheese platter at them.
Yeah, what's funny was I knew that they were gray men before even them revealing that the daggers. Once they said the word ordinary was what signified to me that they were gray men.
Yeah, I just like the way that so Robert Jordan writes the scene out where he's looking across the room. And he's like, he just says, some men crossing the floor, girl singing at the table, laughing men sitting around her. And then he his thoughts, like, wait, men crossing the floor. He frowns at them and then comments about how they're ordinary. And then he goes back to looking at the men who are watching the girl singing. And then his wolf senses redirect him back to the threat, right? So you actually see his kind of human response of like, he notices them, dismisses them, and then he gets pulled.
And then his wolf response kicks in.
Yes. So I've always just liked the way that scene is described. I think it does a really good job of painting the picture of how gray men work.
Yeah. Well, and he sets this up for 10 pages, basically.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the girl singing takes a very big role in this.
Mm-hmm.
Comes, but does something, goes, looks at something else, and then you get the little portion of the verse that she's singing,
mm-hmm.
and then it cuts to something else. You know, you've got the owner coming in to play into the discussion. You got
mm-hmm.
Fail doing stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of hubbub going about. So he sets up this whole scene very well to intentionally make these gray men disappear into the narrative.
Yep.
While at the same time, parents slightly noticing them.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a great call there, Pips, because I think this whole chapter is a masterful set of writing.
It's always made me think of, like, you know, how would you do the literary equivalent of that, you know, that YouTube video of, like, you know, the moonwalking bear. Have you guys seen that one? So it was a TV commercial about paying attention while driving or something like that, I think, made 20 years ago. But it's used in a lot of psychology classes because it shows sort of you know, how easy it is to kind of dismiss and notice things based on what you're primed for. And what it is it tells you, you know, hey, there's two teams of basketball players. There's the black team and the white team. And they're just wearing black t-shirts and white t-shirts, and they're passing these basketballs around, and they start lined up, and it says, you know, count how many passes are made by the black team, right? And then at the end, it'll say, like, you know, see, hey, how many did you get the right number of passes, right? And so you're sitting there and you're watching it, and then they'll say, you know, the answer is 13. It's like, but did you see the moonwalking bear? And then they play the video again, and you see that while they start doing these passes, throwing the ball up in the air, arcing them back and forth to each other, there's a dude in a bear costume that moonwalks across the entire screen. And the idea is that, like, you don't notice him because he kind of blends in with the background, and you're task saturated. You're paying attention to the stuff that's going on. And I've always liked this passage because I think that it's the literary equivalent of the moonwalking bear. That, like, and I can't think of another author or another scene that I've seen that does this so well. Like you said, there's the hubbub of the easing the badger in for like pages and pages, and then it just kind of it does the equivalent of playing back the last 10 seconds, and you see the moonwalking bear, and Perrin realizes what's happening.
Crap. Yeah, I'm watching it now. That's insane.
So it's it's a fun little kind of, you know, look into the way our minds work. And I just like the fact that Robert Jordan, I think, managed to do that verbally, which is like, it's very hard to distract someone in prose, you know?
Yeah. Well, his mastery of the words he selects and uses is so great. And actually, looking at this page, I can spot a number of instances where English teachers and English professors doing creative writing would dock him marks.
Yeah, because those people are has-beens.
Well, because he uses adjectives and very ordinary faces, right? And the whole Stephen King thing, you know, the road to hell is paved with adjectives. It's like, no, that's not the case. It's there's appropriate time for certain word choices, and so not only does he structure the scene very well, but you don't even notice the types of the words that he's using to describe stuff because it's so engaging and gripping. And everything is like very ordinary faces. It's that little tiny blip is the point where you suddenly, whoa, right? And so he uses words that normally people would say never use. Never use these words. If you use these words, you're a horrible writer and terrible. But he uses them so effectively to highlight and emphasize certain things, and
yeah, I mean, it probably would have passed me if they weren't already set up, like the whole gray men being ordinary, you know,
yeah,
to describe them wasn't set up. I would not have seen that coming either.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's a fantastic scene, and then it bursts into a really really good action sequence as well that we'll never see the light of day in adaptations.
We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. Let's get this. We're on the last couple laps. So
don't go for the squirrel.
Squirrel. Okay. So as a result, Moiraine's just like, she tells Lan, like, you know, I have to go on and find out what the hell's going on here, what's happening, and if I die, you know, Lan, take Perrin and go to Tarvalon or something. Or something. So
did you catch that bit where Lan was laughing and Moiraine comments on it?
Yeah, I forgot exactly when.
But then Lan responds, "Well, if I'm going to, I will have to develop a sense of humor if you are sending me to Myrrel."
Yeah.
That's a great little chunk. And once again, it's one of those things that reveals the actual depth of Lan's character. He's not just the blank, stony-faced person, but his displays of emotion, when they do happen, are very pointed. Because
and he's made of onions too. That's why he's layered. Get it? Okay, that was bad. So so Moiraine goes out and Lan's like, okay, we're probably not going to spend the night here, so you guys better get as much sleep as you can. So Perrin goes back to sleep, and he has another dream, and Hopper shows up again, and Hopper tells him about the shadow, or actually no, I think. Actually, no. They actually no. Before they even do that, they go outside and they investigate, and we see Lan spots a stone with a dog print on it, and he's like, "Shit, dark hounds." And that this paid off the very beginning of the stream where Perrin saw it, didn't think nothing of it, and so like the stone, like they can leave prints on the stone, but they don't leave prints on like anything else, dirt or anything else. So that's how they know. And so Hopper tells Perrin, watch out for the Shadow Brothers. They have not been here for, I think, since I forget what war or something, but they haven't been on the side
the Trolloc War.
The Trolloc War. So yeah, you see them, you fucking run, you flee. And I think I forget. I don't remember the sequence of events exactly, but
Dark Hounds are interesting shadow spawn for sure.
Dark Hounds?
Yeah. There's I mean you'll see more about them and we'll discuss them more in the future, I think, but Dark Hounds are interesting.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that in mind. So other things that Perrin sees, he sees a tall man in a blazing sword sitting on a throne with kings and queens groveling before him. Wonder who that tall man with the blazing sword is. I guess I'll read and find out. And then there's he sees something else. He sees Matt is dicing with Balsamon, and he doesn't realize he's dicing with Balsamon. And then our accepted lady heroines are trapped themselves. They come across a springed cage, and they accidentally trap themselves. And we get a couple of different women. One woman with hair and braids laughs at them, and a woman in white laughs at the woman in braids. So I wonder. Interesting. So I think I might have a good idea who the two are, but I'll read and find out to be sure, so I don't look like an ass. So
everyone likes your theories. We want you to tell us what you're
the woman with the braids is obviously Nynaeve, and the woman in the white is Lanfear.
Interesting. Okay.
I think. I don't know. We'll see. So, but yeah. So they talk about the last hunt, I was like, what is the last hunt? And I had to think about the last hunt. The last hunt. Oh, the last hunt. Tarman Gaidon. Sorry, excuse me. Gotta pronounce it right. So, but yeah. So yeah. The wolves are going to play a part in the last battle. So I can't wait. I know it's going to be like how many 11 books away, so it's going to be a while since I see that. So well, we'll get there eventually.
That's only if you don't get sidetracked to read New Spring.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Zareen is there, and she noses her way in the question. She noses her way in with questions.
She noses her way in.
That's how I wrote it. Rude. Sorry. Yeah. What? No, she's nosy.
With her striking nose.
Well, yeah, exactly. And she's like, "Are you the dragon? Is that why they're all after you?" And she's just like, she just gets more insufferable with her questions. And then Moraine comes in. Moraine just busts in. She's like, "Fuck us. Fuck this fucking place. We are fucked if we don't get the fuck out." Like we have to leave now. And then she even goes to the innkeeper. She's like, you take your entire family and get the fuck out of here, or you're all going to die. So apparently we learned that this Lord Brend is a Forsaken that got out of Shale Goo. And this Forsaken's name is Samael. There's a Samael. I don't know. I didn't look up the pronunciation, so. But apparently Samael was the one that sent. So Samael sent the Hound, the Dark Hound, to see what was going on, but he didn't send the Gray People. So, so I guess hopefully maybe we'll find out who the Great People are, who's sending the Great. I mean, obviously, well, we know who's sending the Great People, obviously. So, but it's interesting where this is going to go. So. But yeah, so they get the fuck out of there, and they're leaving, and they realize they're being pursued by a pack of Darkhounds, and they're like, shit, we can't outrun them even on horseback, so they have to make a stand. They find a mound, and they have to make a stand. And Perrin is just like, I need to do something. He takes out his arrow, knocks, and tries to, and looses, and doesn't work. I think they're I think the Darkhounds are too fast, and that's why they. I don't know if he. I don't remember if he hits them.
He hits them,
and it doesn't affect them.
I mean, he's a Two Rivers bowman. He hits them.
So he hits them, but it doesn't affect them.
My recollection is that one or two go down, they just get back up again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, he kills one for sure, and then he's about to go to the axe when a big bright light shows up.
It just proved to be much like everything of the Shadow, very difficult to kill.
Okay, so Moraine uses Balefire. So once again, a bit more Balefire. So Balefire was established with the IEO. They're like, what is Balefire? Oh, we don't know. We don't know too much. Well, now we do. We know because we've seen it quite a bit now. And the thing we learn about Balefire is it's not allowed. Like you can get stilled if a sister of the White Tower is caught using Balefire, you can get fucking stilled. So Moraine, if somebody finds out that Moraine is doing this, then they're as a great character and the Phantom Menace would say, she's in deep doo-doo. So.
Which always struck me as a little strange, because I mean, as someone from Chicago, you should be able to empathize with this idea. I mean, they've outlawed Balefire, so why do they even need to consider punishing people for using Balefire? It's outlawed, so no one could use it.
I mean, really,
it's illegal.
Why do you have to do this to me?
That's so damn brilliant.
Not just yeah. So yeah, I definitely can appreciate it. I'm not crying right now. So dude, oh my god, you have no idea. So
Are there fewer? Are there getting fewer nerdporial walks?
No.
Still
most of Chicago's pretty good. So
they got the downside, you got the upside. There's two sides to every Chicago.
Sure. Upside, yeah, sure. There you go. So yeah.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Oh boy. So
did
I skip stuff? Did I skip anything? Zareen.
The end of Matt's chunk, but
Zareen finds out. I forget how it, but Perrin blabs that Rand is the Dragon Reborn in front of Zareen. Zareen's like, what? And then same with the innkeeper, and Moraine's like, fuck you, fucking fuck, And then she's like, you are with us forever. You are. If you leave, you're dead. Or well, what happens. It's like joining a Chicago gang.
I like that thing with Moraine where she told her, like, you can follow us, but just so you know, like, there may come a time where you're not allowed to leave. And then Perrin opens up his mouth and she's like, bam, gates closed. This is your fault.
You are bound to us.
And they gave her a chance. She's like, this is too much of an opportunity to pass up. Well, you made your bed. Now you gotta lay in it forever. So there you go.
Yep.
Shit. Yeah. I just like this whole thing with Moraine was hilarious. To me was hilarious. It's just like
yeah.
This Perrin, the little dysfunction between Perrin and what's her name, and that he just saying shit, and oh god. Yeah.
Book 1, Moraine is like implacable.
Yes.
Book 2, she's barely present, but she's also implacable. The first half of book 3, she's implacable, but the cracks start showing.
Yes.
Because of Fael and Perrin bickering.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like and we know how far she will go to keep her to maintain the integrity of the mission and everything. Like she was like, I remember in Great Hunt, her point of view, her and Suan were going to kill Varen because Varen was figuring out what was going on with the Dragon Reborn. They're like, oh shit. And then they started grabbing Sidar, and they were about to. I was afraid for Varen reading that chapter. I was listening to that chapter. I was listening to Michael Kramer, Kate Redding, talking, and I'm just like, holy shit. I had to rewind it a few times, like whoa. So
yeah.
So it's just so like now with based on this, like you're in for life. You're part of the gang now. Get used to it.
So we're at the end of this section now, right?
Yeah. So there's just the Matt point of view of this chapter, and then that's it.
Okay. So I guess what was the Matt point of view, and did you have any thoughts on that? And then I think because they're also spread out, we should probably do like a where is everyone at this point in the story leading into the next episode that we do.
That'd be interesting. I'll have to. Well, yeah, definitely. So I mean, the Matt point of view is basically so Mantom are camped. They're on a road. So I'm assuming. So you have Camelin here, and you have Kyrian here, and they were in a town around near Kyrian. So they're taking a west road to Camelin, a direct route to Camelin. So they're camped out for the night. And Matt's playing around. He wants to see how the fireworks work, and he starts opening up. And Tom's like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? You're gonna kill yourself, and you're probably gonna kill me." So, and Matt's just like, "Don't worry about it. "Oh man, don't worry about it." And he opens it up. Nothing happens because he's mad. He's luck. And heck, he even throws it into the fire. Nothing happens. He's like, seriously. So we got that. And then all of a sudden, like before, like with Rand before, a woman and 3 people come up and ask for, I believe they asked for directions. And Matt sees the one guy with the crossbow, and basically I think he takes the fireworks, takes another pair of fireworks, throws it into the fire. Explosion hits this time, causing them to be distracted. Tom throws his knives, kills 2. Matt takes out one with his staff, and then it's just the woman. And Matt will not engage the woman whatsoever, but Tom kills her anyways. Tom kills her, throws the knife, hits her throat. He's like, "What the hell was that for? Look at her hands. Look at her hands, Matt." And she had a dagger. She was walking towards him. She was gonna stab him. She used the opportunity to stab him. So, yeah. So another, like, I was like, holy shit! I was expecting like just a Matt and Tom conversation, and we get another attack after attack after attack during this read. So, and this was, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to include this. thought maybe I should save this for next time, because I know the next chapter is going to be Matt and Tom for the next 3 or 4 chapters. They go to Camelin. They deal with the Camelin stuff. So I haven't read that far. I just know that the next chapter is Camelin. So, but yeah. So they're like, okay, Matt. And what's funny is Matt thinks they're being hunted because of the letter, not because he's Taveran, but because of the letter that he has. So it's just like, oh boy, you don't know, dude. You don't know yet. So I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see where Matt ultimately ends up. But yeah, so Matt is on the way to Camelin on the road. Moraine and Lan and Perrin and Fail and Loyal are in the they're in like they're somewhere outside of Ilion, obviously, and they're heading to Tyr. And Egwene and the rest are on a ship going directly to Tyr from that one city that I don't know exactly where it is, but it's in the Kyrene area, I believe. So yeah, that's it. We reached the end of the line.
So what are your predictions for the next section?
What are my predictions? I'm assuming they the Egwene and the rest of them try to spring a trap, or Min. Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, it's Min was supposed to go to Tar Valon to report, so we haven't seen her since the beginning of this book. So I'm curious if we're going to see her in Tyr or meet up with or maybe. I don't know if she's going to be in Tar Valon. I don't know where she's going to end up. But I'm assuming she's going to be in Tar Valon, and maybe she'll come across the Black Aja who are still in Tar Valon, hence bringing the trap. I don't know. That's one idea. Rand. Okay. I mean, Rand's going to get Kalendor.
Okay.
That's that it might not happen. Maybe Rand dies at the end of this book. I mean, it could happen. I didn't read it, but I think Rand gets Kalendor with boiling pasta water and some good pasta, some good rotini or something. Good Kalendor, whatever. So, but yeah, he gets Kalendor, and I'm assuming he fights some Forsaken. Egwene and maybe the Egwene and the Nynaeve, they get caught by the Black Aja and they have to escape, or they get, and maybe Nynaeve is the one that rescues, gets them out of the situation. They fight Lanfear. I don't know, based on that one little dream, and I don't know. I don't know what else. And then Matt and Tom go to Camelin. I'm curious if Tom and Morghese see each other again, and Morghese wants to fucking kill him. So
okay.
And I'm not sure if Matt's going to end up in Tyr or something. I don't know.
Cool.
I'm curious about that. So yeah. So
I think you got a lot of good questions. You got some theories. I think what I'll say is that
read and find out.
Some of it probably won't surprise you when you're throwing out real predictions like the thing on the cover of the book will happen. But some of the others you might get surprised by.
Oh yeah. So that's what I hope. I don't want to be totally. I mean, it's fun to be correct, but sometimes I want to I want to be surprised.
Yeah,
in a good way, not just do something totally out of left field and say, oh, that's subverting my expectations. Like
it's best when you see something happen that's surprising, but then when you see it happen, it makes sense, and you're like, oh yeah.
The fulfillment of that build up.
It makes sense. That's what I want to see. That's the payoff I want to see. I don't want to see I don't want to see Star Wars Episode 8. Or sorry, wait. Did I say something? I think I had a flicker moment. I think I had a flicker moment or something. So because I don't think such a thing exists. So
that's right.
All right, so it's been 2 hours and 45 minutes. So any final things to say about this portion of the story? So I thought this was I actually kind of really grinded myself through it the last couple of days. So so that's kind of on me. But so I'm gonna the final thing's gonna be next week. So I'm gonna be going in this week I'm gonna be going in deep into this finale.
You're skipping the every other week format then, huh?
Well, for this one, I want to get this one. I want to get this book. I want to get this one done. So,
it's gripping you a little bit, huh? You're eager to read the next chapter.
Oh yeah. Like just reading, just reading these chapters. I just like I need I we're at the end, and I think everything's gonna unfold, and I just can't wait to see how it unfolds.
I feel like the next. Honestly, every book all the way up through probably like at least book 7, I feel like you get to the end of the book and you're just like, where the hell is the next book?
Yeah. I have the entire series in here now, so I bought all the books.
Nice. Yeah, I got all the audio books. I got the digital copies, and I got the hardcovers back there. So I support the multiple formats that Gadfly was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget to watch the show on Amazon Prime.
You just quit it with that.
Wow,
those are fighting words.
Man.
The next time you come to visit, no whiskey for you.
I'm not certain I can be a Nerdporial member anymore.
I know. I'm gonna have to go leave the Continuum for that.
Oh fuck!
I'm actually gonna say that Alex now needs to 100% call in his marker and force you to watch because you said it. You said be sure to check or tune in on Amazon. So guess who's watching season 2? This guy.
I'm not hosting it. I'm not hosting it. So.
We're gonna tie him to the chair. It's gonna be like the taped open eyes.
Yeah, ultra. Yeah, and I'll be screaming about ultra violence. And every time I come across an Amazon show, I'm gonna get like nauseous, and I'm gonna. And if I'm locked in a room with an Amazon show and I can't turn it off, just jump out a window, and that's it.
Well, that's the perfectly reasonable response.
I'm with Trip. I envy you the first time read that you're going through. I'm always happy to be a part of these discussions and get to kind of, get to see your reactions to them. It's fun. It was a fun conversation with you and Jacob talking about the first couple books. So I love talking with people reading this series for the first time and seeing the stuff that they see and the things that they're excited about and the theories that they have. Because that was the most fun for any of us. I think that when we were reading these books when they were still coming out and you still had to wait for the next book, especially, when you got past kind of Lords of Chaos, when they stopped being released like every single year, and the theory crafting and sort of the hypotheses that people were throwing around, and all of the the discussions and stuff on the sort of early web forums. That was a huge part of the experience of reading these books.
Every new book that comes out, you realize that it's deeper and more involved than you possibly thought from the previous book.
Yep. So, especially, I would say, book 4 is probably the most common answer for best book in the series. So, it's hard for me to pick like my absolute favorite. It usually is like whatever book that I'm reading at the time, as long as it's like the first 7 books or so. There's a couple in the middle there that get a little, there's too many Elaine POVs. But then you get Knife of Dreams, and like towards the end of the series, and you're like, oh man, these are so good. But man, The Shadow Rising is like, pretty much everybody puts The Shadow Rising as like their, one of their top favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
So you are in for a treat, and I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of it.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
Isn't this the shortest book of the series?
It's close. Well, New Spring is the shortest book of the series.
Yeah, we're not counting a prequel book.
It's shorter than the Great Hunt. I know the Great Hunt is short. Great Hunt is short.
I was going to say it's between this one and the Great Hunt. Those two are definitely the 2 shortest. I'd have to go check and see. I'll take your word for it, though. I guess.
And I was looking at my copy of the Shadow Rising. It is.
Which one is the?
It's a honky boy.
Which one is the longest? I did look at. I did take a sneak peek at Shadow Rising. Shadow Rising's very long, like a lot longer than Dragon Reborn.
58 chapters.
There's like individual chapters.
52 chapters.
There's
and
individual
the chapters are long. Like the first chapter, there's no prologue. The first chapter is like 60 pages.
Yeah.
Or is that
and then you get to Knife of Dreams, and the prologue is 120 pages.
Wow. So what's the longest book? The Lord of Chaos, or the final book?
Eyeballing it, I'm gonna say Towers of Midnight.
I was gonna say it's got to be a Sanderson one.
Yeah, it's because the last 3 books I think are the 3 largest books. Because Sanderson had to shove a lot into it, right?
Yeah.
But
definitely has the longest chapter in those 3 books.
Yeah.
Like a 200-page chapter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody liked book 10. Yeah, nobody liked book 10.
Fires of Heaven might be the longest one of the RJ books. Just looking at the shelf behind me, I'm just eyeballing it.
Okay.
But yeah, you're in for a real treat with
4, 5, and 6 are really long compared to 1, 2, and 3. So
yeah.
Shit.
The Shadow Rising has individual chapters that are probably worth a full stream discussion.
Well, the first 3 books are much more focused story arcs, and so after that point, the whole world kind of opens up, and you have so many point of view characters that are included in it, and doing so many different things around the world.
Opens up kind of like like Dragon Ball. Like now there's 10 there's 12 universes out there, and like that type of deal. Is that what to expect in book 4?
Read and find out.
Thanks. I don't know. I don't know. Do you see a comment on the bottom? I don't see anything. I don't see anything. So, what's up, Steve? Yeah. We're still we're practically done now. So, but yeah, book 3. Yeah, I can't wait to see how this plays out and where the characters all end up. And yeah, I probably won't read book 4 right away, but we'll talk about that next time. So thank you guys for doing this panel. I know it's been 3 hours. It's been really long. I know it's late for you guys. So anything you guys want to plug? Anything, Gadfly? You have anything you want to promote?
Nothing at the moment. Nothing at the moment. But in the future, there will be stuff we need to promote. So pay attention to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about you, Nathan? How's that alternate Wheel of Time script for season 1 outline going?
Well, I will say it's on here, but that's about where it's been for a few months. So, once real life calms down, I'll get back into it and be able to produce something that will be so far beyond people giving a shit about it that its relevancy will just be for the group of us. So, but that's all right. Outside of that, just next Sunday on your channel, on Saturday on this guy's channel, with the opening to Return of the King. And it should be some good times.
Yeah, I think after Dragon Reborn, I have to catch up with the Lord of the Rings. I'm still in book 2 of Fellowship. So, and that's is that a map? Holy crap! Whoa,
yes,
dude.
Yep, it's time for Return of the King.
Yeah.
So is that just Return of the King, or is that Lord of the? No, is that just Return of the King?
So the map in Return of the King is a sort of I guess an insert on just Rohan, Gondor, and Mordor.
Yeah.
So it goes from the Emyn Wheel south to sort of the mouth of the Anduin, and then it shows the border of Mordor, right?
Yeah.
So it's just all sort of zoomed in on sort of the stuff that is the most relevant. But yeah, it's going to be a good read. We are going to be doing chapters 1 through 5 of book 5, starting with Minas Tirith and going through the passing of the Grey Company, the muster of Rohan, the siege of Gondor, and the ride of the Rohirrim. So it's about 110 pages in this version of the book, at least, which is, I love these covers. They're very colorful and interesting. I have no idea what to make of any of them in terms of the artistic style, which I feel like I think these were published in, I have to look this up every time. So these were published in the 90s, but I think was a republish of an earlier copy, maybe from like the 70s or something like that.
I was about to say that art style looks like something from the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, very, very sort of, interesting art style. But yeah, the Return of the King, it's going to be a good time. We'll do our normal Sunday 1 p.m. Eastern time slot. Sorry, thank you. Saturday. When we'll go through this book here. I think we've got I don't know, we might have to line up a guest for the first half. We might see if Gadfly wants to join us for the mustering and the ride of the Rohirrim, given that I've already said he's a good stand-in for a Theoden over there.
Eomer. I'm more of an Eomer.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
I'm not old enough to be Theoden.
Right.
Okay.
He just wants to yell to the king.
But yeah, so we'll be reading the book, having a good time, doing our normal discussions. Dane has something coming out tomorrow night, which is the discussion of Eye of the World, where he definitely took 4 pages of notes per chapter. So you need to up your game.
Oh, he's cutting back.
And
I have to ask, is that something I can watch, or is he going to go into? Is he just going to talk Eye of the World strictly, or is he going to talk
the entire
series?
he's going to do this this gnat that we see buzzing around this thing over here. We see again in A Memory of Light.
Yeah. So like the string thing that you see from like Sunny in Philadelphia, where the one guy's Charlie's character's connecting everything. That's what Dane's doing with the whole series.
Oh gosh, we need to make that. He needs to have an intro of that.
I can yeah.
That would be pretty perfect. So we got that going on. I keep on bugging Alex. The parent video allegedly is coming out eventually.
Yeah. Where's the Alex? Where's the parent video?
But other than that, we're just kind of on a normal rhythm over here. We might do some odd streams and stuff then, but things are good.
Okay, cool. I'll have to definitely want to catch up, and hopefully I can I'll be able to catch up by the finale. I was hoping I could be on for the finale for your Lord of the Rings book club. So I think that's a while away, right?
We'd love to have you on. You got
I have thinking of another opening for you guys.
You got approximately maybe a month and a half or so if you want to try and catch up.
Yeah, definitely want to catch up. So I was thinking of reading getting that done next, or reading the first book of the Dresden Files after Dragon Reborn. I don't know which I have to balance I can only read one book at a time. So so that's
Dresden Files is pretty fantastic. So
yeah,
it is.
And
can't fall get used to that one.
So because I'm in Chicago, I feel like I have to read it now. So
I think probably.
So, so that's kind of where I'm with books. Obviously, I brought this up in another whiskey stream that we did on Friday, working on a 2001 video. So that's my current major project I'm working on. The next stream is, obviously Wheel of Time is gonna be next Sunday. I did something with Punk Waddle. He wanted to do something. He wanted to do a series called Hot Takes. So you get to hear some hot takes from me, talking about maybe a certain show, certain Star Trek show that Prophet ruined my enjoyment of because reasons. No, I'm kidding. And I've brought up a particular game that Nathan and Steve are both playing that they really enjoy, and I've been really kind of bashing it in my own way because I'm just because I don't like anything. So it's called the latest Zelda. Too big, waste of time playing. I know you guys don't agree. So, but that's what me and Punk Wild talk about. So that he just uploaded it today. So yeah. And I'm wearing the sunglasses, so Pips, I copied you. So I guess I'm shameless. So, so that, and then I think we're gonna do another. I think I'm gonna do another stream with the Golden Age Geek, talking about his Star Trek journey. He's 3 seasons into the Next Generation. It's gonna be on his channel. He just hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to him, subscribe to the Golden Age Geek. Good guy, good channel, great content. And I don't know what else I'm doing. I'm not sure what else I'm doing. So me and Gray are going to do another Star Trek stream. We're going to be talking the What Are Little Girls Made Of episode with the androids. So that should be coming up in a week or two. So be on the lookout for that. And and maybe I'll do you know what? I want to promote all you guys. I'm going to do an Eye of the World review. I'm going to try and get an Eye of the World review video out there, and the Great Hunt too. That way, videos will be more seen by people, and maybe you guys will get, more followings and everything. So
you don't have to come up with these elaborate reasons to justify slowly turning your channel into a Wheel of Time channel. We said that was going to happen from the beginning. We were like, yep, he's going to start reading, and then Nerdporeal Lifeform is just going to be a Wheel of Time channel where he just talks about the Wheel of Time and reads the Wheel of Time, and unfortunately watches the Wheel of Time, Wheel of Prime. He gets the graphic novels, and he's just all Wheel of Time all the time. Yeah.
There's enough content in them.
There are no beginnings, nor are there endings to the turning of the Wheel of Time YouTubes.
But there is a beginning. So
There's a beginning, but
a
not
beginning,
that.
not the yeah.
Yeah, you have to stress the right syllable on your monosyllabic things.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but that's pretty much all I have. So once again, everybody, it's been 3 hours. Thank you for tuning in. Definitely subscribe to White Cloaks, Nathan, Gadfly. I don't think you have a channel, but you know what? Subscribe to Gadfly anyways, just for
just to get ready.
Just write on a piece of paper. I am subscribed to Gadflyfiction.
I have one subscriber on my non-Gadflyfiction YouTube account, so I don't know how that happened, but
and definitely read Gadfly's blog. That's what I did. That's how I got the information for my intro. So yes, I'm a weirdo. I read and I read up. I look into people and everything. I know. Sorry. But yeah, definitely go to. He has his website on link to his Twitter. And read some of his blog. It's very interesting. I really enjoyed. I read your take on the trailer of the first season of the Wheel of Prime and how you knew it was going to be a shit show just based on what they showed. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about Pips and Nathan. I actually knew about the series. I tried to watch an episode of it because I read the book. I was just like, I didn't remember the book obviously enough, and I was like, I don't remember this happening in the book, so I just stopped. And then I saw who they were casting. I was like, oh, it's gonna be like this, really? This was like 2019, I think, or 2020. I was like, okay, so I stopped. So I guess that makes me a bad person. So, but yeah, definitely check out his blog. So other than that, everybody, take care. Have a good night. Stay corporeal.
Walk
in the light.